Do you like wrestling trivia? Then check out the 5-Star Match Game, the Pro Wrestling Quiz Show. I'm Joe Gagney, and every episode, I grill 3 contestants with 5 rounds of power-packed wrestling trivia. We have over 30 evergreen episodes in the archives covering WWE, AEW, Japan, Mexico, and much, 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 much more. Play along at home and check it out today.
Stop letting mosquitoes control your outdoor plans. The breakthrough bug repeller from killthebugs.com creates an invisible 15-foot protection zone around you and your friends. Whether it's a family barbecue or a camping trip with friends, this bug repeller from killthebugs.com is a must, unless you love getting eaten alive by the buzzy flying creatures. Visit killthebugs.com and save 50% on your purchase of the #1 mosquito and bug repeller in the United States today. Visit killthebugs.com.
A member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Omakase. It is episode number 252, and this week I am very pleased to be joined by 2 first-time guests. I'll start with you, Fred. How's it going?
Doing all right. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Just I did tell you this off air already, but did not sleep well last night, so I'm trying to get the energy up. It's a topic I've been looking forward to for a while, and now I feel like a zombie. So hopefully I can get it together here. But,
I believe in you.
Thank you. Another first-time guest, Mr. Paul Wedding. Hello, Paul.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me on. Long-time listener, so happy to be a guest finally.
The best type of guest are the ones that say long-time listener, in my opinion. Fred did not say that. So, but anyway, so welcome back, everyone listening to wrestling. Also, Fred, you didn't say where you're from. I guess I could have done that. You're from another podcast on this network.
Yeah, I'm a co-host of the AEW-centric podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Hungy, co-host with Tyler Fornes. We record about once a week, except for when we don't. So
I've noticed that you guys seem like you have more, like, I don't know if I would say concept shows or, like, non-AEW shows lately.
Yeah, we just had really weird schedules. Seems like both of us have been really busy. Like last week when they dropped the 4-hour... AEW on me, I still haven't watched all that show, so we decided to pivot and just talk about different stuff for a little bit. But
so it's just that you haven't been watching Dynamite. That's all.
I have been. It was I got through an hour of Dynamite, but I didn't feel like I could really go full fledged. Like this is what's going on in AEW, and have a big work project too coming up. So maybe a couple weeks away at this point.
Yeah, work has been kicking my ass too, honestly, but. What are you going to do with that? The shoot job, as it were. But yeah, so we're here. So speaking of concept episodes, we're here for the 30 Under 30, which is the Voices of Wrestling list that gets put out every year that all 3 of us voted on this year. So basically, I'll give a little background on the list in a second. What I wanted to say was about the previous episode, which came out last week, episode 251. I received a lot of positive feedback to the episode, more than usual, I think, especially on the Voices of Wrestling Discord. So thank you to everybody who wrote in about that. I mean, honestly, it was our best received episode in a long time, and it was fucking 4 hours long. So I was surprised so many people apparently put themselves through 4 hours of my voice in one setting. But but that's what they did apparently. So thank you very much if you listened to it and enjoyed it. But yeah, so for people who, listened to the episode and did enjoy it, for the non quote unquote concept episodes, I do think that is sort of what I'll be shooting for going forward with the podcast now that we're regular again. It's very much try to fill the niche on this network of covering men's and women's Japanese wrestling equally, which, obviously is not a niche that anyone else is doing. We have Joshi podcast. We have several podcasts that cover various men's promotions, but we don't have anybody who's covering both, men's Puro and Joshi for people who watch both. So that's kind of the niche I want us to fill going forward with our regular episodes. And that is, what we're going to try to do going forward. So, just wanted to mention that too for people who enjoyed last week's episode. For the quote unquote regular episodes, that will be the idea going forward. And in fact, the next episode I have planned will be a Dominion review, and for New Japan, obviously, at a Stardom conversion preview. So just the same general idea. But this is not a regular episode. This is more of a concept episode where we're going to talk about the 30 under 30 list that Voices of Wrestling put out. So again, all three of us voted on that list. Just to give a little bit of an introduction for people who might not be aware, it's basically a list of, as it sounds, where we rank 30 wrestlers who are all under 30 years old by June 1st of the year. So every year it's open to the entire Voice of Wrestling staff. Everybody gets invited into a Slack channel and can submit a ballot. And then on top of that, Griffin goes out and finds additional people that he wants. And Griffin, who puts it all together, by the way, he does an amazing job. So shout out to Griffin. So Griffin goes out and finds additional people who he thinks can add to the diversity of the list. And I assume that's how he contacted you, Paul. And I guess you could talk about what that process was like. But was this your first year voting on it?
Yeah, this is my first year. Yeah, literally, Griffin just messaged me. I guess he noticed I was a big Osaka Pro guy and thought that might benefit the list. So he invited me to contribute for the first time this year, which I was happy to do so.
Yeah, the outside contributors were cool. I mean, he got a bunch of Lucha people, which I feel like helped the number of Lucha people on the list. And he also he had one guy who only voted for like real Japanese independence, which the guy's name was Chris. That was awesome. I mean, he really dug super deep, and he did not vote for anybody bigger than I don't know what the biggest promotion he voted for would be, like Big Japan or something, maybe. So really, really tiny promotions only. So
I say this cool. With full-throated respect, sicko mode.
Yeah, very, very sicko. A lot of stuff, a lot of people I've never heard of, and I watch a lot of Japanese wrestling, obviously. There was cool seeing a bunch of JTO people on there, because that is a promotion I've started watching more regularly, as much as I can anyway. But yeah, the Big Japan people, I haven't really paid attention to Big Japan in years, and then he had people on there from Osaka Pro, which I don't really pay attention to, and Donton Buri, which is another Osaka-based promotion. It's the same thing, I think. But or Kyushu Pro is the one I was thinking of. He had a lot of Kyushu Pro people. But yeah, so it was a really, really cool list, and definitely added a lot of flavor to the honorable mentions. The one unfortunate thing that happened, I noticed, is there were a couple, I think they were both Murray Gold wrestlers who, saw they were on the honorable mentions, but I guess it was lost in translation that they were on the honorable mentions, and they thought they were on the actual 30 under 30 list, which I felt bad. They had fans correcting them in the replies. They're like, no, sorry, you're actually just an honorable mention, which I felt really bad for. I think it was Chan Yoda. Oh, it was Chan Yoda for sure. That was one of the ones.
That was one of them. I saw that one too.
And I think another one was just a fan of race.
Yurika Oka, I think.
Oh, Marika. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I was the only voter on Yurika Oka too, so I felt.
Oh, you're right. But was that her? Or was that a fan? I thought
it was a fan. It was a fan.
Okay. Yeah, I think the only actual wrestler who tweeted about it was Chan Yoda, I think. And she's like, Chan Yoda is one of the 30 under 30. I'm like, I'm sorry, Chan Yoda. You have a lot of promise, and you look good in your last match I saw you in, but you're not yet on the 30 under 30. You were in the honorable mentions because somebody voted for you. I wonder, was it Chris that voted for? Actually, let's find out. I'm just curious right now. Who voted for Chan Yota? It was Chris. Okay. Oh, so he didn't vote for anybody from Marigold. He voted for her, I believe. He voted for her because she's technically PPP Tokyo.
Right.
And does freelance and does appearances for Marigold, which anyone who's ever seen a PPP Tokyo show, you should know what you're in for before you watch one of those. Is all I'm gonna say.
Take a shower afterwards.
Yeah, it's something else. So the actual criteria here too. So Griffin leaves this a little open-ended, which I think often results in really different ballots. So I wanted to mention the exact criteria. I'm just going to read off the page here. Candidate or panelists were asked to evaluate candidates based on a blend of wrestling skill, match quality, drawing power, accomplishments, and I assume by that he means like in kayfabe accomplishments, and long-term potential. These criteria were intentionally unranked, giving each voter the freedom to weigh them as they saw fit in order to create the most balanced and representative list possible. So that's his criteria according to the page. Like I said, he leaves it very open-ended. He also leaves it pretty open-ended whether you rank them more based on their previous year or based on, their full career up to that point. I tend to go more on the previous year, mostly because to me, if you're voting on this list every year, I feel like the previous year, which, obviously I do, and I assume both of you are going to now. Well, Fred has in past years too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I assume if you're going to vote in each year, it should have a lot to do with what that person did in the previous year. So I tend to go mostly on how much I've enjoyed the wrestling in the last year, how much I think they're drawing and they're helping the promotion the last year, which is something I want to get into in a second when we get to the promotion breakdown. Then after those two things, I weigh long-term potential next. And especially 20 to 30 is where I really start to try to put a bunch of people in there who maybe aren't quite there yet, or maybe I could have ranked them below other people I didn't include on my list, but I wanted to, put a, get a vote in for them now, especially 25 to 30. I want to get a vote in for them now while I think that their ceiling is really, really high. And before maybe they're even like on some people's radars at all. So that's kind of the perspective I have towards it. What about you, Fred? How do you generally approach voting for this?
I try to weigh everything as equally as possible. What I do prioritize is, for lack of a better term, overness. And so for my top 8 spots, I think specifically, I set aside the people that I thought were genuine main eventers in their companies and kind of had them in their own tier. And then I had a few after that I felt like maybe were a little further away or were in that next step down, and kind of ranked off of there. And then after that, it was just what I thought were really good performers. So that was kind of my approach.
Makes sense. What about you, Paul? How did you weight everything here?
Yeah, so it's my first year, so I don't know if this is going to be how I do it every year going forward, but I guess this year the way I worked it out was I stuck with strictly, I put a lot of emphasis on in-ring, especially for my top 10, and then once I get down to sort of my 20, that's kind of my shout-outs, especially my bottom 5, a lot of vanity picks, and mainly people who I think have the potential to be really great going forward in the future. So that's sort of how I balanced my list this year.
Yeah, it sounds similar to what I did. Now, I will say, when it came to voting, what I voted on, I did not vote at all on promotions I don't watch ever. So that pretty much meant I did not vote on Lucha at all. I just don't watch it, so I have no idea. And I did not vote on anyone in WWE because I only watched the only WWE show I watched this year was the Royal Rumble. I mean, in the voting year. And also that show sucked anyway, so did not make me want to rank anybody from WWE. But yeah, I mean, so those I don't vote on it because I don't know anything about it. And I'm sure there's lots of other promotions that I don't watch that I don't know anything about. But those are the big things is Lucha and WWE.
No, that's why we
But-
have a big voter pool, to try to
Right.
get representation for everything.
And I feel like there's a lot of people like that who don't vote on stuff they don't know, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It seemed like you tried to vote on a lot of stuff, Fred. So
I watch a lot of stuff, so I
yeah.
rate at least 1,000 matches a year just from different promotions. So
yeah,
I
I mean, I obviously focus on Japan. I mean, I wish I had the one promotion I wish I had paid more attention to, and this is something I started watching more after I put my ballot in, was DDT, because I feel like they do have some really good young wrestlers, and I wish I'd done more deep dive on a few of them and maybe gotten a few into my list. I did do I did, even though I don't watch them that regularly these days, I did do like a dive on Dragon Gate, and I watched a lot of the younger wrestlers to try to see if anyone impressed me enough to put them in the list. Ultimately, I only ended up ranking 2 of them, as I'll get to when we go through the list. I'm not overly impressed the way some other people seem to be by their current young class, but I do get why they end up so represented on a list like this, because they do have, first of all, they have a very young roster, just like Joshi does, and second of all, we just have a lot of voters who watch Dragon Gate, so they tend to get a lot of representation on these lists. So that's another thing I want to talk about. So before we get into our individual picks, the promotion breakdown, which I think is interesting, is the top 30, how it breaks down by promotion. For the purpose of this, I'm counting Kevin Knight as AEW, not New Japan. If I counted him as both, then New Japan would actually be the winner. But I think it's pretty clear he's mostly going to be an AEW guy going forward. Like if Takeshita had been available this year, which he only missed the cutoff by like 3 days, and obviously was very high on my original list before I realized he wasn't eligible. But if Takeshita had been on this list, I would have counted him as an AEW guy only too, because again, AEW clearly gets the even though they list him as both and even DDT, AEW clearly gets the priority on his dates, and he's there the most often. And it seems like the same is true for Kevin Knight now, where he's going to be working in AEW the most often, even though he just did Best of Super Junior. So I'm including him as AEW. But doing that means a 3-way tie at first, with New Japan, AEW, and Dragon Gate all having 5 wrestlers each. Then CMLL has 4, Stardom has 3, Noah and All Japan each have 2, the US Independents have 2, DDT has 1, and the Joshi Independents have 1. So that's, it's a pretty diverse breakdown of promotions. I mean, there's really nothing that like dominated there. Where I would argue strongly is that Stardom got underrepresented here, only having 3, just because, first of all, as a huge fan, I've been paying close attention to it this year. And besides the fact that they are like kind of on fire right now, and I have some stats to kind of back this up, so it's not just my subjective opinion. They're also a promotion that's very, very, very carried by under 30 wrestlers. I mean, if you look at the breakdown of their roster, it's almost all under 30 from their top star on down, especially now that Tam Nakano is retired. So, if their champion is under 30, a ton of their secondary champion is under 30, a ton of their most popular wrestlers are under 30, and there were 2 or 3 Stardom wrestlers that I felt like were pretty big snubs that should have made the list for sure. If I feel like if more of the voters paid attention to them. So those are the ones I'm going to get into that should have been on the list when I get to, in my opinion, should have been on the list when I get to, the picks that I made. And I feel like if any promotions here were overrepresentative, it is probably the 3 that tied for first. New Japan, they're not a promotion and again, they're a promotion I follow very closely. They're not a promotion that's loaded with under 30 talent, and they're not a promotion that I feel like should be tied for first in a list like this. They're not particularly hot right now. They're kind of going through a rough patch. I feel like they're here mostly because a lot of people on the list watch them. Dragon Gate, the same kind of thing. They're not a promotion I would call particularly hot right now. They do have way more under 30 talent. So from that perspective, it does make a little more sense that they would be tied for first. But again, they seem to primarily be here because a lot of the voice wrestling staff watch them. And then AEW being tied for first at 5, again, not surprising because a ton of the staff watched them. I would say, again, they're not a promotion loaded with under 30 talent, and they're not a promotion that they at least feel hotter than they have in a while. And people who watch it regularly seem to really enjoy it right now compared to, past years. But they're not like doing like their best business, in years, if not ever, the way Stardom is. So, but from an objective standpoint, you can also say they're the second biggest promotion in the world, and people should pay attention to them. So maybe even, maybe even can say they don't deserve to lose one the way I think New Japan and Dragon Gate probably do. But so that's just that. But anyway, that's kind of like how I feel about it. Maybe take one away from each of those. Maybe even New Japan Dragon Gate first, and give one to Stardom, one or two to Stardom, maybe even one more to CMLL, which I know, again, this is me from afar, but I know they've been drawing very well, and they also seem to have a ton of under 30 talent. But yeah, I mean, you could also take one away from All Japan, maybe. I mean, even they only have 2, but they also seem to be a promotion that's pretty cold right now and not really super stocked with under 30 talent.
Well, they are short on under 30 talent, but I will push back on them being cold. The Cytos have really helped out their drawing a lot. Now, they're not eligible, but just as a promotion.
I have some stats on this, so give me...
Sure.
Let me just read this off real quick. So, to show how each promotion is drawing right now in Japan, I'm going to do, first of all, their average Korakuen attendance in 2025. And again, these are reported numbers. I'm not going based on... I'm not giving anybody demerits for supposedly inflating numbers. I'm not doing any of that debate. All I'm doing here is giving their exact reported numbers according to what they've reported. So if you rank the promotions by average Korakuen attendance in 2025, Noah is first with 1,462 with 6 shows, and they have 2 people on the list. They are possibly the thinnest promotion of all when it comes to under 30 talent. So it's really hard to argue they needed more representation on the list, despite the fact that they have drawn very well at Korakuen this year. Ever since, and Ozawa's ranked very highly, and he is, the primary driver of that, pretty clearly, given how much their attendance turned around after he won the title. So, that feels appropriate. But yeah, they're number 1 at 1,462 and with 6 shows. Stardom is number 2, 1,390 over 8 shows. And they have seen a huge leap in their Korakuen attendance. If you go back to as recently as last year, they were still drawing triple-digit crowds, crowds under 1,000 for a lot of shows. And they're nowhere near doing that now. So they're almost at a 1,400 average, while running 8 shows. And some of these are not big cards at all. Like the one that took place today was basically a Road to level Korakuen, where they had an 8-man tag main event, and then like a Sari versus a young wrestler, Rana Yagami as a semi-main. And that show did 1,405 fans. So they're hot enough at Korakuen that they don't need to load these cards up to draw. Whereas Noah is putting almost all GHC title match main events on their shows for comparison. But yeah, so 1,462 Noah, 1,390 for Stardom. New Japan will be third. They're either 1,318 over 11 shows if you include Fantastica Mania. If you want to take those 2 out, because those are really CMLL shows, they would be at 1,286 over 9 shows. On the one hand, they obviously run the smallest shows at Korakuen of the smallest cards at Korakuen of any of these promotions. On the other hand, this number is even a little bit inflated because it includes a 1,500 that they never would have gotten without Naito announcing his departure right during the road to Dontaku tour. I mean, that show was not selling particularly well before that, and then the number jumped the moment Naito announced he was leaving because it was his last Korakuen as a New Japan contracted wrestler. So pretty clear they sold it out because of that. But yeah, so that's New Japan in third. All Japan in fourth at 1,227 over 7 shows, so well behind Noah and Stardom, and they do run big matches in Korakuen, unlike New Japan. And then Dragon Gate's in last here, 1,172 over 8 shows, and again they do run big matches and big cards, in their Korakuens. So they're well behind Stardom, almost more than 200 fans behind, well behind Noah, even behind All Japan. So
could I offer some perspective?
Sure, but let me go ahead. I mean, I was also going to do the big show attendance, but why don't go ahead?
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, the other thing I was going to mention, if you rank them by their biggest show attendance in the voting year, you have New Japan first at 24,107, of course, Wrestle Kingdom 19. Not a particularly good Wrestle Kingdom number, but they're always going to be first in something like this because it's the Tokyo Dome. You have Stardom in second with 7,503 for All Star Grand Queendom at Yokohama Arena, which was the biggest, the most attended Joshi show in at least 20 years, depending on how much you believe the old All Japan women's numbers. It could be as many as 30 years, honestly. Noah in third at 5,088, which was their New Year's show at Nippon Budokan on January 1st. Dragon Gate in fourth at 4,795, which was their Kobe World show from last July. And then All Japan well behind in fifth, but they also run the smallest buildings. They don't run anything bigger than Yoyogi or Oda Ward. And they did 2,503 for their December 31st Yoyogi show. Go ahead, Paul. What do you want to add?
Okay, so first, I want to admit I am part of the problem when it comes to the Stardom ratings. I did see the big show with the Saya Tam match and was very impressed. And I was impressed enough that I want to make it a point that I at least keep up with it moderately for the rest of the year, which I plan to do. But besides that, Dragon Gate, yeah, they're definitely not as hot as some promotions. I think when you look at it relative to the recent past of Dragon Gate, though, like I know at least for myself and some other Dragon Gate followers, we were very down on the promotion throughout much of 2023 and some of 2022. Kikita was a big dud, and it's kept me down on him even to this point. He was not on my list.
He's one of the only two Dragon Gate people I ranked, meanwhile.
Yeah, I mean he's good in ring sometimes, but I don't know. Anyway, so what I'm getting at though is that there was so much turmoil for Dragon Gate the past couple of years that once Yamato got the belt, I felt like the promotion just instantly skyrocketed in quality, and I think that they are. If you compare their business compared to 2024, 25 to 2022, 2023, I think that they are doing noticeably better. Compared to other promotions, maybe not, but just I think that they made a lot of strides just on their own, and so I don't know. For me, that gives me more of a positive outlook on Dragon Gate more recently than compared to previous years with them.
So they're up compared to their own reported numbers are up compared to what they were a few years ago. Is what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah, Yamato's doing noticeably better than Kikita, and I'm pretty sure he's got to be doing better than Luis Mate. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, so that is a good point. So that's something to bring up. I'm just looking what they reported for their last few Kobe Worlds. Let's say 2023. 2023, they actually reported a higher number, 5,000.
The Hiromu show, yeah, that's that. I mean, that's probably going to be the biggest one in recent years.
Yeah, that's 5,150. 2022, out of curiosity, they reported. Wow, they run so many shows. 2022, they reported. Oh yeah, way less. 2,515. Okay, I don't know if that was still any COVID restrictions though. Now I think about it, but yeah, 2,000. That was way less than the number they reported.
Yeah, I think restrictions ended right at the start of 2023.
Yeah, so yeah, that is interesting. But yeah, so the last one was a little down from 2023, but like you said, the 2023 one did have a Romu. And there's always a lot of chatter online in some circles about whether or not Dragon Gate's reported numbers are accurate. I did not want to get into the seat counting debate. It's not necessary to do that to me though, because even if you go by the reported numbers, they're well behind Stardom at this point.
Yeah,
so that is the point I really wanted to make is I do think it's, if anything, it's become very underrated just how hot Stardom is in certain Western fan circles. And I don't think people have quite processed it yet.
Sure.
Even with them doing the 7,500 at All-Star Green Queen. But like, to me, I guess where I'm coming at this from is if Kobe World reported, 7,500, I don't know the last time they reported a number that big. it would make me go like, whoa, what's going on in Dragon Gate? And I'm not sure if that is really happening enough with with people with Stardom. Like, I don't know if people are paying close enough attention to what they're doing. They just to give. I'm trying to think where the last time they reported 7,500. They reported 5,365 in 2019, 4,952 in 2018. They claimed 9,800 in 2017. So that's I don't know about that one, Chief, but that's what they claimed in 2017. So maybe that claiming that much, maybe that was around the last time they did 7,500.
Is that Dragon Gate?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was under the Shima regime. I believe they were still inflating their attendance
by a lot. Yeah, I think. Yeah, 9,800 sounds insane. I don't even think you can put 9,800 in Kobe World Hall, can you?
Probably not.
Yeah. So, but maybe if they're claiming 9,800, maybe that was doing like 6,000 or 7,000. I don't know. But yeah, so that's. But yeah, they did, and they did get the CA, the claimed from Cage Match, which I always know is what they put when they're like, we don't believe this. So
right.
But yeah, so I don't know. So that's my general thoughts, I guess. It's like, I don't know if there's enough people paying super close attention. And, we're taking up a lot of time with this, but that's, I guess, my whole little Stardom defense / why I think they should have had more than 3 people on this list. They're a very hot promotion in Japan right now. They're also getting a ton of mainstream attention that really not even New Japan is getting comparably in Japan right now when it comes to like wrestlers appearing on like talk shows and different variety shows, and half the roster just appeared on like a pretty famous karaoke show in Japan. So that they're getting more of that kind of attention than a lot of promotions are getting right now too, which is it doesn't necessarily mean you have to rank the wrestlers highly, but it is notable. I don't know, Fred, do you have any thoughts on any of this?
I think that it's undoubted that Stardom is probably the number 2 promotion in Japan right now. I think you could maybe make an argument. You could maybe make an argument for Noah, but I think it's probably Stardom. Unless you're counting, I guess, WWE, but I don't know. That seems kind of specious. Or specious, I should say. So I do think that Dragon Gate and All Japan year over year have probably improved a bit. In terms of where they were. I certainly wouldn't put either above Stardom overall, let's be clear about that. But I mean, when it comes to like how many spots a promotion should get, I think you really hit on it early on in this, which is it's a matter of exposure, and I don't know if it was just a lack of people watching Stardom or if it was maybe Stardom splitting votes just because of their number of candidates or some combination thereof. But I do think that like it would have been nice to see more Stardom representation on there. But also, like, I could probably put like 70 names on my list and like be all right with them. So it's really hard.
It is very, very hard. There is, and I don't want to sugarcoat this part, and I'm not calling either of you out on this. So I'm not going to say, because you did both vote for women on your list. There, especially Joshi women, there is a certain type of voter who is not going to vote for Joshi. So that is just like,
you could go with that with anything though. Like everyone's got holes in what they watch.
No. I get that, and I don't watch Lucha, so I'm not calling people out like in a aggressive way on this. But there are more non-Joshi voters than anything else, and some of the reasons are not great. Is I guess all I'm going to say about it, without sounding too controversial.
I don't know. Like, it's not like it's something I've really dug into, so I'm not going to like issue a take here on that, at least. But I do agree. But also, like, at the end of the day, this is a poll of hobbyists, like committed hobbyists. Let's be clear. But like, nobody can really like make this their job. Like, I watch.
No. Of course, you watch the most of anybody, I think.
Just close to, if not, and like. It's disgusting.
Well, okay. The more promotions I add lately, and again, I'm only really watching Japan, the more my partner's just like, really, another one? Now you're watching Marigold? Now you're watching DDT? The other night, last night, I was like watching my first full Dragon Gate show in a while, and she's like, now that again? I was like, yeah, well, I don't know. This is I'm in a mood where I'm just like watching everything.
Yeah.
But, But yeah, so it's like it is tough on our significant others, I think.
I just mainly watch it during the day when I'm working. So
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, I have a hard time convincing my girlfriend to watch Friday Night CMLL with me. So yeah, it's a struggle.
But yeah, so that's, I guess, everything I wanted to say about the different promotions. And it's not like Stardom was the only underrepresented promotion either. I did mention earlier that DDT, I feel like, could get more love here. The problem with DDT, so they did a really weird thing where it feels
stop.
it feels like they stopped reporting attendances as their attendances were improving. Because you hear the DDT stopped reporting attendances. And
I did not hear that.
Oh, well, so I heard that, and I'm like, well, they must be really struggling then. But then I turn on the King of DDT Cork, and the fucking place looks packed. I'm like, why are they not reporting this attendance? It looks like they almost sold the fucking place out. And I talked to, a couple people on the Voice Wrestling Discord about this who follow DDT more closely, and they were like, yeah, they look like they're doing great now, and we have no idea why they stopped reporting attendances. Maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's a classic DDT joke. That's like, we're going to stop reporting our attendances when our attendances are actually up. So it's hard to compare them to anybody else because, again, they don't report the numbers anymore. But like on TV, they look like they're doing pretty well, at least. So it is very strange. But yeah, I mean, their crowds are doing well. I mean, there's some other promotions that do not seem to be doing particularly well, like Tokyo Joshi, who does still report their attendances. They stopped running Korakuen pretty much because they've really been struggling to break triple digits there. And then you have like Marigold is an interesting one where I'm gonna pay super close attention to them over the next year, where they up to most of the voting period they really struggled. I mean, they were doing a lot of triple digit Korakuens and stuff like that, but right at the end of the voting period, Mayu Iwatani jumped from Stardom, and you can see a effect on their attendances immediately. I mean, they did a 1,200 number, I think, for Korakuen for her debut, which was like their best number in a while. Then Yoyogi, which did have the Nai Takahashi's retirement match, did like a legit 2,500. So you can see they look like they have a little momentum finally. And I'll be interested to see what the next Korakuen number does. I believe that show's about 9 days away. I think it's like June 17th or something.
Yeah, just for public record, I believe Marigold has also been accused of attendance inflation.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I did talk to somebody about who was there at the Yoyogi show that they claimed, I think, 2454, and he did say it looked pretty packed. So, if it wasn't that exact number, it's not like they were exaggerating a ton, apparently.
I've no doubt Iwatani is going to bump up their attendance a bit.
Yeah. So we'll see what Marigold looks like. I mean, they had a lot of wrestlers who I think are super close to breaking onto my list. They have a couple really, really good like rookies, especially that I'm excited about. So I'm gonna definitely pay close attention to them over the next year. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few more of them break onto my list next time. I mean, my list was very heavily Stardom in general. It was very heavily Stardom. I think it was like 16 Stardom or something. And then, I had Sari, obviously, who's independent. I had Mika Iwata from Sendai Girls. And then I had a bunch of other Japanese wrestlers that we'll get into. But yeah, I mean, but I wanted to make sure at least these people made it on the honorable mentions, which, and Griffin did an awesome job this year too, letting everybody, basically he told me before I did all the blurbs, he's going to put everyone's blurbs on there and just list every honorable mention, which is really cool. And, let a lot of people get like a little, get their little flowers. Also, so I was scrolling through the article in front of my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, why are your blurbs so much longer than everybody else's? And I'm like, well, you've been with me for 11 years. You should know the answer to that by now. I just can't shut up. So in written or verbal form. Let's get into the wrestlers we voted for here. So the way I broke this down is I put first of all, I have the wrestlers all three of us voted for. Then I have the wrestlers two of us voted for. Then the wrestlers only one of us voted for. And then finally wrestlers who none of us voted for who still made the top 30, which I think is also fascinating. But yeah, we'll start. And then once in each category, they're ranked by their final position. Or once we get into honorable mentions, I just obviously have to do them alphabetically. Let's start with wrestlers all three of us voted for. Surprisingly, does not include first or second place. So the top ranked wrestler that all three of us voted for was Shun Skywalker from Dragon Gate. He is 29 years old. He is one of the only two Dragon Gate people I voted for. I voted for him in 14th. Paul put him first place on his list, and Fred put him fifth. His highest vote from on the list was obviously Paul, who put him first, along with anybody else who ranked him first. Like I mentioned, his final position was third place, and which is up very slightly from last year when he finished fourth on last year's list. So the easiest way to do this is just to let the person who ranked him highest go first. So Paul, why did you have Shun Skywalker first on your list?
Well, he's just the straw that stirs the drink. I wrote about it a little. I don't think there's any guy in any promotion, at least that I watch, who is the center of the promotion's orbit as much as Shun Skywalker. There's just so many, practically everyone on the roster has some kind of history, some kind of rivalry or alliance with Shun Skywalker. I speak a little Japanese, and I think his promos are excellent, but I think you can tell that even without having to speak any of the language. I think he's an incredible, I can't take my eyes off him. Anytime he's talking, anytime he's in the ring, I think he's superb, a superb wrestler, and he just gets it. I love watching him anytime he's in there. He just totally embodies this character in a way to where he's gotten so over that now he can have his own successful produce show that they're running now. And I assume they're going to run more of that. And you see it anytime, like on those UJPW shows, when he's in the match. I mean, the match is practically almost built around him. He was the center of it. So yeah, I just think he's one of the most fascinating wrestlers going in the wrestling industry today.
It's interesting that produced show. It was like the day before I landed in Japan. I really wanted to go to that. But
oh yeah, it would have been so fun.
Could not change my flight. Fred, why did you rank him fifth?
Well, as I mentioned, one of my priorities was recognizing like true main eventers, and you can't say anyone in Dragon Gate is a main eventer, even including their champion Yamato or top champ. And I more than Shun Skywalker, I think he is the centerpiece of that promotion. He is their main guy. And I think that's extremely impressive, of course. And on top of that, he's a very good worker, extremely good, and is very charismatic. He has control of the crowd. I mean, he's the top of he's a leader of their heel stable. That kind of everything in the promotion is built around to a certain extent. So, like, to me, he's got to be like a top 10 guy minimum. And for me, it was a pretty easy top 5.
So I put him 14th. So he did not have to be a top 10 guy for me, apparently.
Hater.
He's a guy I wanted to have in my top half, at least, because he is very obviously the top star of Dragon Gate. I don't enjoy his ring work as much as I think other people do, which is probably why I have him this low. I don't really think he's like one of my favorites. He's a guy who I think is good. He very often struggles to get to that great level with me when I watch him, but he has so much charisma. He has very clearly top star quality, and he very clearly is just the top of his promotion. As I went over in painstaking detail earlier, I don't think his promotion is that hot either, which is why I didn't feel the need to get him into the top 10 from like an objective like draw standpoint. But I do think he was worthy of being in the top half at least, so that's why I put him 14th. Definitely the highest ranked Dragon Gate guy for me. Next up on the list of all three of us voted for is Ozawa, who is 28 years old. I should mention, by the way, obviously anyone who's 29, it means they will not be eligible for next year's list. So this was the last year for Shun Skywalker. I assume third is his all-time highest, but I didn't go back to check that. But just would be surprised me if I don't think he ranked first or second.
Yeah, I don't think he's ranked before.
Yeah. So Ozawa, 28 years old, so he will have one more year after this. It's amazing to me he's already 28. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers on here that are way younger than you think, and Ozawa is like older than you think because he's such a new phenomenon. But yeah, so Ozawa at 28 years old, he ranked 4th this year. Obviously was not ranked last year since he was really just a young boy at the time in Noah. So I had him ranked 3rd, which was the highest of the three of us. Fred had him at 8th, and Paul had him at 10th. Somebody had him higher than I did. Somebody had him 1st on their list, which doesn't really surprise me. And I should say we don't know how many people ranked them at the highest vote. Like Fred didn't, or I mean, not Fred. Griffin did not include that information, so it could have been multiple people had him at 1st. But yeah, his highest vote was 1st. So I will go 1st here this time since I did have him ranked highest of the three of us. Ozawa, some of these I think are kind of no-brainers, and Ozawa is a no-brainer. I mean, he's so popular, so clearly turned the fortunes of his company around, overnight with his push where, Noah was, not doing well at all last year. I mean, they had a lot of triple-digit attendances. They're probably doing worse than Stardom was, last year and worse than a bunch of other promotions were. And, to turn it around so quickly as a result of his turn, and very clearly, if you watch Noah's shows, I mean, he is the most over guy in the promotion by a mile. It's very clearly because of him. So, he has that true top star level charisma. He has an amazing presence, especially, to be so popular as a top heel. He definitely has gotten super, super over and helped his promotion recover. The only reason why I couldn't rank him even higher than this is because, he's a guy who I've really liked a lot of his matches, but he hasn't gotten above that 4.25 star level for me yet. That's pretty much where he tops out. It's like 4 and 4.25. So he hasn't really gotten to like true outstanding like match of the year contender level for me yet. I think the potential is there still. I mean, I think he could put it together even more than he has, and he's still obviously pretty inexperienced, especially for his age. So I think he has an even higher ceiling than this from an in-ring perspective. But for me to rank him even higher than this, I feel like his in-ring would need to be a little better. I don't think his in-ring is quite up to these standards that my top two have hit, in the last year. So that's why I have him 3rd, but, obviously still very, very high on my list, and a fantastic top star for Noah, who's really turned that entire promotion around. So I felt like this is about, and he ended up finishing, very close to where I had him. So in 4th instead of 3rd. So it feels like a lot of voters agreed. Fred, you had him 8th. So why did you hate him?
Well, I hate Ozawa deeply. Here's the thing. I have not watched very much Noah this year at all. And I did keep up with them last year, but of course Ozawa was not really a factor with them as far as like a great match guy. But I knew that to vote on this, or felt like to vote on this, I should say, that I needed to at least watch Ozawa once. And it's been a little bit since I watched a guy for the first time. I was like, oh yeah, this guy's a dude, capital D. It is painstakingly obvious that as soon as you lay eyes on him at this point in time, like, he's just a superstar. He's just super charismatic. He's a good worker. I can't really I don't have like deep takes on him because obviously one match, it's not exactly like you shouldn't base your judgments on someone like that as far as in-ring, but I thought he looked like a good worker. Kind of gimmicked up in this match. It was like the January one, I think it was.
First.
So yeah, so he was working like, the whole heel shtick a little bit. So it wasn't exactly like he was going all out for, the best match possible. But I mean, it was very impressive. And so because he is the top guy in that promotion, like I said, he made it to that top tier for me. I played it safe by putting him, I think, last in that group, just because, again, I only watched him once. So I'm not going to, feel super comfortable with him there. But I just thought that it was, just he's a superstar, and it's really obvious, right now, that he is, what he is.
Paul, you had him 10th, so what are your Ozawa thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of echoes what you said. He's almost like single-handedly brought the company back from the depths that it was in. I mean, I kind of detested this company for most of the 2020s, and as soon as I saw what Ozawa was doing, I was like, okay, this is kind of interesting. I'll check this out. And then I watched the January 1st show, and yeah, I mean, the guy's just one of the most charismatic wrestlers in Japan right now. And it's just amazing to see how much the crowd is gotten behind him and how he's like single handedly drawing these great houses for Noah. Um, like like you said, I mean, the biggest attractor for me is I just don't quite think he's there yet on the in ring. I don't think it's quite up to snuff. I think 4 is my ceiling for him right now. So I'm really fascinated to see. Uh, I'd love to see what he can do as like a top face, because I imagine he's going to be a bit better in the ring without having to rely on the bullshit shtick. So I mean I think Noah could rise even higher if they turn this guy face and build him up as the top guy.
Next up we have, and I should mention too, that you said the charisma is there. I mean, the moment I saw that promo video they played for him before the January 1st show, where he's like channeling like Tetsuya Naito and like Goro Majima from the Yakuza games at the same time, I was like, oh yeah, they definitely have something here. So
Yeah.
next up we have Yuma Anzai, who is 26 years old still, still disgustingly young. Obviously, he is from All Japan. So he ended up finishing 5th on the final list. The highest vote he received was in 2nd. Paul and I both had him 7th on our list, and Fred had him 14th. So Fred had him quite a bit lower than the two of us did. Last year he finished 3rd, so he actually dropped very slightly here from 3rd to 5th. I guess I'll just mention for him, I don't have a ton of super deep thoughts on Anzai. I mean, he's a very good wrestler. It feels like he is a little restricted by where he is, because All Japan is such a small promotion, and they have especially so little, they have so little depth on top that it almost feels like it's difficult for them to go back to him as a Triple Crown champion anytime soon, because he already ran through so many of the challengers that he'd be facing, during his reign. So it feels like he's kind of stuck a little bit. But at the same time, I didn't punish him too much for that, because even everything he's been doing has still been really great. I mean, he has this tag team with Rising Hayato right now, where they are the All Asia Tag Champions, and that's been such a good team. I even consider Hayato for the list. I don't think a junior in All Japan especially has the kind of ceiling. Any kind of ceiling is the big problem with Rising Hayato. Especially their junior division is even weaker than the heavyweight division. But what Anzai's been doing, I mean, a lot of these recent All Japan bigger shows would have been really dire without him and Anzai, or him and Hayato's All Asia Tag Title defense. I mean, specifically thinking of that December 31st show, where their All Asia defense was like the only really good match on that show. So he's really helped carry the promotion from a work rate standpoint. They've produced a lot of their best matches so far this year. Into like late last year. So even though he's not on top of the promotion right now, he's already been Triple Crown champion. I mean, he was Triple Crown champion during the voting year. And he's a little on the back burner right now, but he's still probably their best worker, if not second best behind Kento or whatever. And he's still very young. There's even time for him to end up somewhere else. I mean, I know All Japan fans would obviously hate that. And we should mention, too, by the way, nobody mentioned this. I totally forgot about it until just now. Shun Skywalker is in a title versus Leave Dragon Gate match next month.
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, Shun Skywalker is challenging Amato for the Open the Dream Gate at Kobe World. So Shun Skywalker could be another person who ends up leaving Dragon Gate for somewhere else. I asked, Mike and Case, who I feel like would know, how scared they are about that possibility. And I think they seem to be leaning that it's just a stipulation to help Kobe World draw, and he's probably going to win.
Uh-huh.
But, obviously there's definitely Western Dragon Gate fans I've seen out there who seem far more convinced that he's leaving. So
even if he loses, which I think is definitely a possibility, I think he might go to Mexico for a few months or something. I don't see him leaving the promotion permanently.
Okay, so there you go. But yeah, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I just thought of it because I just mentioned Yuma Anzai leaving. But yeah, it's possible Yuma Anzai's still young enough that he ends up somewhere else at some point. But even if he sticks in All Japan, I think he has a high ceiling as a whatever you can say, a ceiling in a promotion like All Japan is going to be at this point. What did you think for Yuma Anzai here, Paul?
Yeah, I have to imagine Yuji Nagata is probably still sending Anzai the occasional text like, "Hey, how you doing? How's it going? You happy over there?" But yeah, I pretty much had the same reasoning for my rating. I mean, he's I haven't watched All Japan very closely at all this year, but his Triple Crown reign last year I thought was just superb. One of the best first reigns for a young guy that I've seen, and one of the best title reigns that year. And so that's pretty much boiled down to my rating for him. I just think he's a tremendous wrestler and has great potential to be a top guy and to represent All Japan.
Fred, you had him 14th. So again, why'd you hate him?
Just some concerns about his place at the top of the card, because I feel like the Saitos have really taken over that promotion, which, I mean, they should have, because they're super over. But I thought he had I don't think I'm as high in ring on him as some other people. I had him like 25th on my FSM 50 last year, which is really good. Don't get me wrong, but I just, I'm a little concerned about his place in the promotion going forward. I think that's my biggest thing, but I mean, I still would not be shocked if like he's top 5 for me next year.
Next, we have Sari. She is 29 years old, so this is her last year on the list. All three of us put her second, so we're in unanimous agreement. I think this is the only wrestler this is definitely the only wrestler where all three of us voted him or voted her in the same exact ranking. So all three of us voted her second. Somebody did vote her first, at least one person, because that was her highest vote. She finished in 6th, which I was personally disappointed by. I saw so many people who had, because all three of us did put our list publicly. A lot of people do, and I saw a lot of people having her high on the list, even higher on the list than that. I was hoping she would break in the top 5, if not the top 3, in her last year, but it just didn't happen. She was still a big rise though from last year, where she was 21st. So, Paul, let you start this one, since we all ranked her the same anyway. Why did you have Sari second?
I just don't think there's anybody else in the world who delivers as consistently as Sari in big matches. I think she's the best big match wrestler in the world. Every time she goes out there, it's practically like a 4.5 star match at least guaranteed when she goes out there. That match she had with Nanae Takahashi, that was like my third favorite match of the year in 2024. I thought that was incredible, and she took up like almost half my spots in the top 10 list last year, and I'm sure she's going to have a few on my list this year. I think she's brilliant, and just delivers every time. She's the most reliable wrestler in the whole industry right now, in my opinion.
Paul with the casual name correction. I always forget it really is Sari, not Sari, but
yeah,
it just looks like Sari.
Sure.
Fred, how do you have? Why did you rank Sari second?
So my FSM 50, my top 5 wrestlers in the world, and this was the year I didn't watch Stardom, so take note of that. I didn't watch CMLL. They were Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Konosuke Takeshita, Shingo Takagi, and Zack Sabre Jr. Number 6, Sari. I feel like she is unquestionably one of the very best wrestlers in the world. I just wish that she had more visibility. I had not watched her prior to voting last year, so I'm pretty sure she was on my list. I don't think I would have done like a reputation vote for. And so like some people in the Discord were very loud about her needing more respect, and I checked her stuff out, and I'm really glad I did, because she is tremendous. Just one of the best in-ring workers in the world right now. Definitely an argument that she's number 1. And like, I don't know what else to say. Like, she puts on really good shows under her own promotion. I mean, granted, it's just like, what if I get the best available women wrestlers in the ring and wrestle them and have them put on other matches? But she, shows up. She works great wherever she goes, and she's traveled a lot in the past year across Japan. And I don't know. She's awesome. I don't know what else to say. Like, she's just supremely talented and is a blast to watch. So it was a slam dunk for me that she had to be again in that top range, and she, only one person above her for me.
And she's so good. I just want to add real quick. She's so good that she can just casually go between Marigold and Stardom and work.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone else that can do that.
because she loses. So people don't know, she loses the Marigold World title. She was the first Marigold World champion, and she loses it. I believe January 3rd would be the date. Somewhere in that. I don't have the exact date right. She loses it to Utami Yashishita, and then later that month, basically, or she starts talking about the IWGP Women's Title. So I believe it's either later that month or February, the first time she starts talking about it. And so at that point, she's probably already made the deal to come into Stardom. And then in March, she does the match with Syuri, which is clearly the first step towards this in the Stardom relationship, where she does the 30-minute draw with Syuri, where she had mentioned, she basically had said if she beat Syuri there, she was going to challenge Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's Title again, because she had previously challenged her, I think in 2024, right? I believe. Or was it 2023? I can't remember.
It was 24.
Okay, so she challenged her in 24. She lost that match. She goes to Marigold. She wins the Marigold Women's World Title, and then she loses that belt, and then goes right back to Stardom and going for the IWGP Women's Title. And she's that good that she can walk right between these two promotions that clearly have heat with each other. So it's very interesting that she can do that. The only reason why I didn't rank her first, because I think she is probably the best wrestler in the world right now. I think she is. She's the most consistent for sure. She pretty much never fails to deliver something awesome when I watch her. I mean, she just had a 4-star match with Rana Yagami at today's Stardom Korakuen show, which Rana's good. I mean, she's a good rookie, but she's not like, it's not like she's having 4-star matches every time she goes out there. So she really delivers every time out. She's like the most consistent performer out there. She's not as big of a draw as the person I put first, and that's ultimately why I ranked the person I put first ahead of her, which we'll get to in a little bit. But that's really the only thing she's missing. Is to me, she doesn't quite feel like a top tier draw. But even then, I might be underrating her, because that the only match we had until today for the Stardom conversion show at your Yogi in a couple weeks was Sari challenging for the IWGP Women's Title. And, that show, the conversion, is pretty close to sold out already. If you look on the Japanese ticket sites, I mean, that's not a small building in Yogi. And, it's almost all the tickets are gone. And the only match announced was that match. And as I went to in painstaking detail earlier, Stardom is very hot in general. So, but on top of that, I mean, that is her title challenge, and that match is almost sold out. So that I feel like that is notable. And obviously, the Shinjuku face shows, she puts them on sale and they sell out pretty quick every time. And that's obviously like only a 400-seat building, but they do sell out every single time. So it's not like she doesn't draw either. But yeah, I mean, she is probably the best wrestler in the world. Easy pick for second on this list for me. Next up, Kaito Kiyomiya. He is 28 years old, so he will have one more year on this list. This one's interesting. So Fred had him ranked a lot higher than the two of us did. Fred had him 10th. I had him 22nd, and Paul had him 25th. Paul and I end up being far lower than the consensus, apparently, and Fred ended up being very close, because his final position on the list was 9th. The highest vote he received was actually 4th, so he received a pretty high vote. But even 9th was a pretty big drop for him, because he actually finished first place last year on this list. So still a big drop for him, but obviously Paul and I were far more lower on him than Fred was. So Fred, you can start here. Why did you have Kaito 10th?
Look, we are all aware of the issues of Kaito's presentation in Noah. Punish Kiyomiya would be a good ring name for him at this point. But the fact is, he really is a tremendous in-ring performer. And I just think, given that, I had to rank him highly. I think he could be a main eventer somewhere. I guess Noah, but it feels like he is not really going to be that there, because they will never respect him enough. But look, Kiyomiya is a great worker. He's got some charisma. He's got some stardom to him. I think that he might really I think he needs to make a jump. I was talking on Jumping Bomb Audio, and I proposed that he just jump to Mexico, frankly, for a year or two, just to kind of reset himself before he goes back to Japan or wherever. because it's really kind of ridiculous just how poorly he has been booked and treated. But like he's a great talent. I had to acknowledge him. So yeah, he was 10th for me, and I felt good about that. So
All right, there you go. So I had him 22nd. I was trying to find my list while you were talking from last year to see where I put him last year. I can't seem to. Oh wait, maybe this is it. Yes, it is. Okay. So last year I had him first. So he went from being first on my list last year all the way down to 22nd. So, that is, I had him very, very far down on my list compared to last year. But yeah, I mean, just a huge drop, on my personal list. I mean, so the issue with him, obviously, you mentioned his booking. I don't think his wrestling has been as nearly as good in last year as it was in the previous year. So that is where I dinged him besides the booking. And I can't justify putting a guy in my top half and really not even my top 20 when him losing the title to a heel is what causes the company to have a giant attendance turnaround. I mean, it feels like objectively this guy is just like and again, this is not mostly his fault because of it's a lot of it's because of the booking, but objectively it just feels like this guy is such an anti-draw basically that handing the ball from him to Ozawa, revitalized the company. That has a lot to do with Ozawa, but that also says something about Kaito to me. So that's why I had to rank him this low. He's still a fantastic wrestler most of the time. He still puts on great matches, even though, again, I do think his in-ring has dropped off a bit too. So I couldn't justify leaving him off the list entirely. But yeah, he was a bottom third guy for me this year because I don't think he had a great year. I don't think he's really done anything super interesting since losing the title in January, which almost covers half the voting period. And I don't think he, again, I think when a guy loses the top spot and, basically the company recovers, that has to be a demerit to the person who lost the title as well as a merit to the one who won it. So I do think that is something I kept in mind here when I ranked him this low. Sorry,
that's really fair. That's really fair. And I can't disagree with any of it. He was 11th on my FSM 50 last year. So I just couldn't drop him that far, even if Noah seems to be a pretty low work rate promotion this current year, that not too many people are doing much that's interesting in there. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, I consider dropping him off my list entirely, if not ranking him even lower. But he did have a really great performance against Ozawa, right before I put in my bout, where he showed some fire finally and had this slightly deranged, persona that I think could serve him well if he keeps it up. So that kept him from dropping even further. So that last performance in a big spot.
Well, maybe this will work out for him.
Yeah, and the show did draw well too. So it was a corking. Paul, why did you have him even lower than I did?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's pretty similar reasoning. I mean, that match with Ozawa at the start of the year, it was almost like it was like Ozawa was pointing out that the Emperor had no clothes on for me. It was like he was just exposing to everyone. It was like we've always kind of had inklings that Kaito was a bit of a geek, and then the whole match is basically just Ozawa telling everybody look at this fucking geek. I always hated the Muto spots, and then he just mercilessly ridicules Kiyomiya during that match with his Muto spot by doing it to him, and then going on to beat him. And for that,
not only that, but he made a ridiculous mockery of the Muto pose.
Yeah,
if you remember,
that's what I mean.
And then he does the fucking Shining Wizard better than Kaito did.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's what I'm trying to say. Exactly. So all that to say, yeah. And then Ozawa goes on, and business booms, and I just felt like Kiyomiya got really exposed. But I can't. He's undisputably a great wrestler, so I felt like I still had to include him on the list somewhere, and he just wound up going in the 25th spot. That's where I felt like he belonged for me. Fred talking about him jumping somewhere to maybe to Mexico. I don't know if you guys saw his work in Dragon Gate. He was great in Dragon Gate.
He rolled there. He was really exciting there last year. So
yeah,
if he made that move, I mean, I know that there's probably financial reasons that won't happen.
Yeah.
But just from a pure quality standpoint, that would rule. I would love
for
that.
Sure. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say on Kaiten.
Next up, we have Mao from DDT. He is 28 years old, so still has one more year of eligibility. Paul, his final position was 17th. Paul had him 13th, and then Fred and I both had him 18th. The highest vote he received was 7th, and 17th was a big jump from last year where he finished 29th. So big year-over-year jump for Mao. I assume a big part of that year-over-year jump is just the exposure he got in Best of Super Junior this year from people who don't normally pay attention to DDT, and it is notable he was the only DDT wrestler to finish on this list. Paul, I guess give me your thoughts here on Mal since you had him higher than Fred or I did.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be the high voter on Mal. I think he might have been the only DDT member on my list. Yeah, I think he's a blast to watch. Oddly enough, I haven't seen any of Best of the Super Juniors this year, so I haven't seen his matches in that. But he's just he's a unique wrestler. I love his moves. I love his matches, whether it's in DDT or whether he's working US Indies. I love his tag team with Shunma. They had a really awesome reign a year ago, or maybe it was 2 years ago at this point. But yeah, just someone who I think is just super fun to watch, and I always make time to try to catch his stuff.
So I had Mao 18th. So I will say again, I did not watch much DDT at all in the last year. So this is based mostly on seeing him in New Japan. And I did try to dig him up a little bit in a few of his DDT matches recently after when I was putting my ballot together. He's a guy who, I saw him live when I went to the, when I was in Japan a couple months ago, I went to the Road to Sakura Genesis Junior Genesis show where he wrestled in the opener of that show. I believe was the opener. And then after the show, basically announced he was going to be in Best of Super Junior. And it really stuck out to me being there live, just how over he was with that New Japan crowd. I mean, there were clearly people who came specifically for him, and the entire crowd seemed to really love him. So it was like, okay, this guy seems to really have something here. And then, I did watch all of Best of Super Juniors for better or worse. And he was one of the big standouts in that tournament. I mean, he was the second best wrestler in his block by average star rating for me in the B block. So he really stood out in a tournament where a lot of people were not very, were not great at all. I mean, there were a lot of passengers in that tournament. And it wasn't helped by the booking either, as I went over last week. So, he was a standout in the tournament. He brought a lot of spice to the tournament, much needed spice to the tournament. And the tournament would have been a lot more dire without him. And he's a guy I'm going to pay way closer attention to in the next year, as I try to watch more DDT again, because I think he's, just super, super exciting. And, he's definitely a really, really cool wrestler that I'm going to, try to make even more time for. Fred, why did you have Mao 18th?
So I haven't watched a ton of DDT the past few years. It's in a promotion. It's on the outskirts of my radar, basically. But when I do make time for it, it's usually a Mao match. And he is a great worker, extremely charismatic, and just really unique. And I feel like if I watched him more regularly, I would have him higher. But just off what I have seen, like it's clear to me he's like he's one of the best workers under 30. So I did my best to place him, but I'm pretty happy with where I put him.
Finally, the last wrestler all three of us ranked, and the only one all three of us ranked that did not make it in the 30 under 30, she was an honorable mention, is Suzu Suzuki. So she is 22 years old. I ranked her 13th, Paul ranked her 20th, and Fred ranked her 30th. None of us were even the high vote for her either. The highest vote was 11th. So, Griffin, how the hell did Suzu not make it on the list? If you're listening to this, I think we demand a recount here. But she was not the highest stardom wrestler on my list not to make it. I mean, she actually was not one of the 2 or 3 like big snubs I was thinking of when I mentioned that before. But she is the reason why I had her 13th is because I think she's got a ton of charisma. Her in-ring is really good. I mean, she had an outstanding match with Saya Kamitani that made waves, even with I feel like people don't only watch Stardom at the start of this year at the start of Saya's red belt reign. So that was a Korakuen main that also drew really well. And, after that title shot, her whole storyline where she left Neo Genesis was like one of the focal points of the promotion for a few months. And she really carried her end of that. And, it all led up to a really awesome match. It's a almost shockingly awesome match, honestly, like way better than I expected to be, with her former tag partner, May Sierra, at All Star Grand Queendom, and she has like such a unique charisma, and she has that like that death match like grungy vibe that Stardom doesn't have a lot of. That it really helps her stand out in the promotion. Um, and I mean, just to be honest, the fact that she looks the way she does, and she does not have Stardom's preferred body type. I don't think that's being controversial to say, and she still gets pushed as a top act, and she's still very over. So I mean, the fact that she is as over as she is and as pushed as she is, while being a different body type than Stardom typically pushes, I think is notable too. So that's part of why I decided to rank her this high. Paul, you didn't rank very many Stardom people, but you did have Suzu on your list at 20th. So give me your thoughts on Suzu Suzuki.
Yes, I believe she was my only Stardom actually on the list, and that's because I mean I've seen her outside of Stardom. I've seen her, probably been watching her for a couple of years now, and I just think she's awesome. She's again a unique wrestler, and that match you mentioned with Meseta on All Star Grand Queendom, that was my match of the show. I thought that was incredible. One of my favorite matches of the year so far. So I felt like I just had to get her included on this list somewhere.
Fred, you had her as your very bottom of the top 30. So why'd you make room for Suzu Suzuki?
She had a great 2023. And like, yes, that's outside of like the primary window here, although the rules don't really specify a window technically. But I did emphasize the past year or so. But she seemed kind of de-emphasized in 2024 from what I read about the promotion while following along. But I mean, I still think she's a great in-ring worker, and I thought I should shout her out, at that last spot, given, once you get down to that spot, like, there's probably 10 people I could have picked in there pretty easily. So I just like her work. I like her style, and I think she's a damn good worker.
All right, cool. So now we're getting to wrestlers only two of the three of us voted for, including some very high-level wrestlers that mostly Paul did not vote for. So maybe I'll just have Paul be like, here's why I didn't vote for this person. First of all, the very first place finisher on this list, Gabe Kidd, who is 28 years old. He, as I mentioned, he finished first. The highest vote he received, as you not surprisingly, was first. I had Gabe Kidd fifth. Fred had him sixth, and Paul did not rank him. He was a bit up big from ninth to first. I mean, I guess this is me to go first again since I hired him Fred. I was pretty surprised he won. I thought he was going to be very high. I did think he was going to finish below, for sure, the person who finished second. I think was the person I thought was going to win the entire time, and I did think I think he should have finished below at least one of the two women below him. I had him higher on my list in different drafts. Where I dropped him is because I don't think the start of his AEW run has gone particularly well. This like last month and a half he spent over there, associated with the Death Riders. And since I do expect him to jump from New Japan to AEW, sooner than later, maybe as soon as January or February, I don't think that run to me does not portend well for how his full-time AEW run will go. He didn't stand out as an American television character to me when I watched his segments and his matches. And, his charisma, I didn't think translated as well. Maybe that can change, and maybe that's something he'll just have to pick up on. But, given that he doesn't seem particularly over even on the New Japan US shows, where you'd think the crowd would be a little more into him than even a pure AEW crowd. It just could be that like the whole gimmick he's doing of this, Ultimate Gaijin, the pro New Japan Gaijin, just is not going to translate the way it does with the Japanese fans who obviously they love Gabe Kidd. I mean, if you told me he's the most popular wrestler in Japan right now, and it's certainly in New Japan, I wouldn't really disagree with you. The gimmick also kind of hurt his persona a little bit, and I guess the AEW run has hurt his New Japan persona, and I guess the long-term impacts of that will have to be wait to be seen. But the first promo he cut that they released yesterday on the New Japan channel was the worst promo I've ever heard him cut. And again, I'm usually a huge fan of his promos, and he just did not sound passionate. He did not sound, he sounded like he was delivering his words far more robotically than usual, and it just sounded like he was really struggling to square that circle of what his character did in AEW with being so pro New Japan. So, I feel like I'm harping a lot on the negatives for somebody I voted fifth, but the positives to me are obvious. He's super charismatic. He's in both of my 2 matches of the year, against Yota Tsuji in February and against Kenny Omega in January. So, he's had an amazing run so far this year. He had a great G1 last year. So 5th was the lowest I could put him. But, he's just, he also hasn't quite broken through to the degree in his own promotion the way some of the other people have, like from an accomplishment standpoint, especially. I mean, he hasn't won a major title or anything. So that also made me think maybe he should be a little lower than the people I ranked above him. But yeah, that's just, that's where I'm at on Gabe Kidd. Fred, why'd you put him 6? A little spot lower than I did. Were you also shocked that he won?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that he won. I thought he'd be in the top 10. I didn't think he would win, in part because I thought that it was 6 months too soon, possibly, or maybe 3 months too late in another way, because he's kind of been doing nothing for a couple months now of any real import. I voted him in my top 10. I voted him 6 because I feel like he is basically a main eventer in New Japan. If he isn't, then he's just one step away, it feels like. Great worker in my FSM 50 last year. That was an easy call. I like how he carries himself. The intensity is really good. I understand why people complain about him being a little bit of a try hard or going too far with it, or however you want to term it. I understand that, but I don't fully agree with it, I guess.
I didn't agree with it even when it was a more popular take on this website, I will say.
Yeah.
But
it's just, he's doing a gimmick. I don't know. Now I watched the promo that you talked about. It definitely wasn't a great promo by any stretch. I didn't think it was bad. But I definitely agree it didn't have the usual passion from him, but I'm not going to make any conclusions off one promo, I don't think that the booking of his AEW appearances really made much sense beyond not liking Kenny Omega, but then he just kind of didn't really focus on that. So that was unusual.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for them to really lean into the Kenny part of it, and it felt like besides the fact that he yelled at Kenny in his debut segment,
nothing else.
He yelled something. Yeah, I think he yelled "Did you really think this was over?" or something. But that was it. They never leaned into that at all.
So I don't know. I fully agree with you that he should not make the jump to America in the next year. And I'm assuming he is because, he's a Gaijin, and it's, that's basically what happens with 90% of people that work in Japan that aren't from Japan, that are from the English speaking world, as they go to America eventually. It's not that he's not ready skills wise. I want to make that clear, but I don't think he is over enough where he would be able to just be plug and play as a player in AEW or, God forbid, WWE. So I don't know. It's too soon. He needs to have at least a year as as a major player in New Japan, and I just don't think that clock has started yet. But that's my take on this whole situation.
So, Paul, you don't have to bury the guy, but why? I guess just say if you can why you didn't rank him and how close you were to ranking him. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even. I don't even think he's a bad wrestler. It's just I don't really follow New Japan super closely, especially this year, and I don't really follow AEW. I loved his match with Kenny. That's probably going to be my top 10 matches of the year. It's just there were, he just kind of, I mean, he almost slipped my mind. There were just other names that I wanted to highlight.
Yeah, if you just don't watch the promotions, then it's just going to be the same answer that I give for the Lucha people, where it's just I don't watch it. So
yeah,
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Kyle Fletcher is next. He is 26 years old, so still.
Before we get to Kyle, I do want to talk about one other thing with Gabe, which is I'm surprised by how much pushback there was on him. Now there's
that's a good point. Yeah. So I did want to bring that up too. The social media really got mad that we ranked him first.
Yeah. Oh, like about 30 people or something. Like, look, I don't.
No,
spend
way
much-
more than that. Way more than that.
Like, I don't spend. I don't spend much time on social media these days because it sucks. It's all just really trash, awful existence. And like if you have your own view of who's the top guy on the list, yeah, you're going to complain about like that person not being there or whatever. I expected that. I was surprised by how virulent a lot of people were about Gabe Kidd. And I don't know, it just surprised me.
Were you around? Okay, here's a question. How long have you been paying attention to Japanese wrestling?
Since 2015, but that was primarily New Japan.
Well, because I feel like it's not that different from the reaction that Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay used to get from that corner. So, I think there's a few things to play here because this is how I view it. There's some people who are always gonna hate, and this is a big phenomenon among Western fans. They're always gonna hate whoever the top gaijin is in New Japan, and which is basically makes the top gaijin in Japanese wrestling. They hated Kenny, they hated Ospreay, they hate Gabe Kidd now. So whoever they perceive to be the top gaijin, the one who's getting the most attention from fans and like getting pushed the most, that they're going to hate that person. So maybe even the way to put it is the most critically acclaimed gaijin too is the other way to put it. But yeah, they really are always there's a percentage of fans that always hate that person. That's just how they are. I mean, the quote unquote deep puros is one way to put them. I mean, they always hate that top gaijin wrestler. That's just a thing that happens. So that's one camp. There's a camp that I feel like hates Gabe specifically for like being like an English like street punk or something. Like I feel like this is a very British like / Ireland thing. Like they seem to really dislike it. Like they seem to really dislike it. Like some of those people because I don't know, they just don't seem to like dealing with that kind. Maybe they just see that type of person all the time in a way we don't have to. As Americans, and
understand
that persona annoys them. Yeah, so I feel like that's one group. And there are people that I don't know the best way to put this. There's a weird phenomenon where people almost seem tougher on people who were not involved in speaking out but said something they don't like than they are on the actual speaking out people, which I don't really understand. But especially with Gabe, where he had like one tweet that also happened to be like in the middle of him having a nervous breakdown that put him in a mental hospital. It does feel pretty bad to me, pretty like unforgiving to hold that against him for the rest of his life when he didn't actually do it. Like one of the replies to the Gabe Kidd thing was one of those joking replies that basically says to Google or search Gabe Kidd speaking out. But if you actually search Gabe Kidd speaking out, there's no results because Gabe Kidd was not actually accused of anything. So, but it is this weird phenomenon where Zack Sabre Jr. faces the same backlash where by not tweeting or like going off of Twitter during that, he became a bigger villain to some people than the actual villains. So part of that is that, but yeah, it's a weird mix of those three groups, I think. I mean, I might even be missing a group, but yeah, so he has like all that level of backlash. And, there's some people who just don't, they just don't like him, and there's plenty of wrestlers that are critically acclaimed sometimes that I don't like, or matches that are critically acclaimed that I don't like. So, I don't want to like dismiss everybody as like some kind of faker or like, doing contrarian bullshit. I think there have been times I didn't enjoy Kenny and Ospreay, especially as much as Consensus. And, even though I do think both have outstanding matches for the most part, there was an Ospreay match this year that I think is a lot worse than the Consensus. So, I'm not going to pretend I'm always in total agreement. But yeah, Gabe Kidd, he does have that backlash out there. So it did not surprise me as someone who's already seen. Oh, the other group that I wanted to mention too, that I just remember now. Some people really hate whenever a white person does like the I'm the embodiment of fighting spirit stuff that Gabe Kidd is doing, which is often funny because these people are also often kind of weebs themselves. But yeah, some people get really mad when white people do that kind of thing, which is kind of funny because it's clear that Japanese fans love it. I mean, you hear he's the most over guy in Japan, but so it's funny that like the Western fans are the ones that hate it. And it always brings me back to the story in Best of Super Junior, the 2019 finals, when Will Ospreay, I was in the building for that show, and Will Ospreay came out with a samurai sword and like pointed at Shingo Takagi before the match, and the two like older Japanese salarymen I was sitting next to like fucking marked out like crazy for that. Like they thought it was so fucking cool that Will Ospreay would carry a samurai sword with him. And then I go on Twitter and like every pure Western fan is completely burying it for being corny and stupid that he would do that. So it's just like it's always been a disconnect, I think, between between the Western fans and the Japanese fans on whether or not they want to see like a white person doing that. So that's another aspect of it too. But
Gotcha.
yeah, thank you for bringing that up because I did want to mention that. I almost forgot before I moved on. But yeah, that was the big point of contention. Basically, was either Gabe Kidd being first or no WWE people being ranked. Which we could talk about that too. Maybe I feel like that topic really got beaten to death in the Discord, and it's not a topic I really care about at all. So I didn't really even have it on my agenda, honestly. But we didn't rank. We didn't rank any WWE people on the list. So you did rank some, which I guess we'll get to when we get to the single picks.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that now, or you want to save it?
Let's save it, I guess. I don't even really
sure.
want to talk about it that much anyway, but we can touch on it when we get to it.
Okay, sure.
The next person that only two of us voted for was Kyle Fletcher. He's 26 years old. He finished second overall on the list. He was, again, the one I thought would finish first. Fred, you had him 9th, and I had him 17th, so we were both a bit lower here than the consensus. And again, Paul did not rank him. The highest vote was first he received, so he did receive a first-place vote, at least one. And last year he was 12th, so way up from 12th to 2nd. I guess, Fred, go ahead and give me your Kyle Fletcher breakdown since you had him 9th.
Tremendous in-ring worker. One of the best in the world. He should be in the FSM 50 for like the next decade, probably. Maybe a couple years less if you want to be technical, but whatever. 7 years. Let's just say 7 years, easy. Barring injury or whatever. I think he's working on his heel persona pretty well. I think he's developed it pretty well since the big turn last year. I think he's in a very good position as an upper mid-card heel at this point, but that's kind of why he's not top 8 for me, because he's not a main eventer. I think that he could be pretty easily if they booked it that way, but he still feels like he's like a step away at this point, and so that was kind of why I put him 9th rather than any spots higher. My FSM 50 last year, I had him 7th, so like I think he's tremendous, obviously, but I did take into account like card position / overness, however you want to break that down, and that was kind of my big hang up with not putting him higher.
Yeah, so I had him even lower than you did. I had him 17th. I didn't think he was top half worthy for pretty much the same reason you did, where he's not, or you didn't put him even higher than 9th, I guess, where he's not a top star in his own company, which makes me think, a lot of the people I've ranked above him are top stars in their own company. And even the person ranked directly above him on my list, which was Sayaka Kurara in Stardom, like she had a red belt title shot, and like one of the big storylines of the company was, built entirely around her. Whereas like Kyle to me was like right on that next tier where he never felt quite like he was in the world title mix in his promotion. He is a great worker. I will say his stuff, I wouldn't say his stuff lands with me to the degree it lands with some people. Like when the flagship starts talking about him as like one of the best wrestlers in the world, that they really lose me. I don't have him anywhere near that level. His match with Will Ospreay, that was the final of the Continental Classic, I thought was outstanding. But then his match with Will Ospreay, the cage match, was the match I was hinting at before that I really did not think was very good compared to what, I guess consensus on it was. Although it was a divisive match, I think there are other people like me who didn't like it that much. But yeah, so he's not a guy who was top half worthy to me. I still thought he would win because he's, a consensus best worker in the promotion that the most people voting would have watched. And he did finish second, so it's not like he didn't almost win anyway, but he did end up finishing behind Gabe Kidd. Paul, you said before you don't watch AEW. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've seen some Kyle Fletcher matches. I'm in the same vein as you, I guess, where I'm not as high as many are. He's not really to my taste, and as you mentioned, I saw the cage match with Will, and I thought that was very bad. So yeah, I didn't get much consideration for him.
Next, we have Saya Kamatani, who is 28, so she does still have one more year on this list. So she is who I ranked first, and Fred ranked her third, so we both had her very high. Paul, again, did not rank her. The highest vote, obviously, was me, and whoever else ranked her first. And her final position ended up being seventh, which, again, I thought was a little disappointing compared to where I kept seeing her on ballots. I honestly thought she was a lock for the top 5, so seeing her only finish seventh was pretty disappointing. Last year, though, she wasn't ranked at all. So, and I did not rank her at all on my list last year. So she went from not ranked on my list to first overall. But, in the last year, she, I've talked a lot about on this podcast already about, how great she is. I think I talked about it on the last episode a lot too. So I'm trying to go into too much detail again. But, she is the biggest star in Japanese wrestling right now, I think, when you put in between the level of mainstream exposure she's getting, she's in commercials, she's on mainstream television, she's all over the place in Japanese wrestling right now in a way that I don't really think anyone else is on a mainstream level. And she just drew one of the best crowds for a Joshi show in 20 or 30 years. The Korakuen attendance has completely turned around since she won the red belt from Tam Nakano. Not that it was already bad, but like they were still doing some triple digit numbers. It wasn't Noah bad like last year was. So they weren't coming from quite the same low level, but they were still doing occasional triple digit Korakuen. So they're not doing anything close to that anymore. Like every show is doing pretty well. So, that is notable since she won the red belt. And from an in-ring standpoint, even though, again, I don't think she's as good as Sari, she's still an outstanding worker. She's dropped the horrible, I shouldn't even say horrible. She's dropped the very sloppy high flying she used to do, which was my only real complaint about her ring work before the heel turn. And that did really hold her back, where you'd be into one of her matches, and then all of a sudden she would do something, off the top rope that just didn't look very good at all. And now she doesn't really do that anymore, which is, a big deal. And when you see the Tam Nakano matches, she's doing a lot more, head drops and suplexes. Her kicks look better. And she has such incredible in-ring charisma that you really cannot take your eyes off of her. And she's one of those wrestlers, too, who her in-ring charisma is even more amazing when you're there in person. I mean, she just looks like she commands the entire room when you see her in person. I mean, just incredible watching her on that Stardom Korakuen, and even getting to see her on a smaller room show, because she's also on top of being the Stardom champion, she's also the champion of a smaller Joshi promotion called Wave, which I feel like very few people ever even remember to mention. But yeah, I saw her defend that Wave title on a Shinjuku Face show. And again, the way she just commands the entire room, is amazing. But yeah, she had some outstanding matches between the two matches this year, well, 3 matches with Tam, going back to the December show last year, the match with Suzu Suzuki, the match with Sayaka, which she defended the title. I mean, just some outstanding stuff. And I thought, really, I never considered anybody else for first. I think she's turned her promotion around. She's become a really outstanding wrestler. And, she easy call for first place, in my opinion, this year. Fred, why'd you have her third? You hated her.
Terrible. Never beat anyone. She's, I don't know. I don't want to, like, it's basically what you said. Tremendous in-ring worker, tremendous presence. Like you said, dropping in the high flying, really improved her act. She's seems like the top person in the promotion. Again, I've only dabbled a little bit in Stardom this year after taking last year off. But she's great. She's obviously like a top star in that world. And, I don't know what else to say. Like she rocks. So I think the Tam Nakano series. I think I've watched all those matches at this point, and I've got her with a 4-star match, which I think was a tag of some sort, if I recall correctly. I don't have my list in front of me. And then
the February one, yeah.
And then 2 4 3/4 star matches and a 5-star. So like, tremendous work. So easy pick for me to be in the top 5.
Oh, you have her. You actually rated those matches even higher than I did, because there was only 4.5 on them. So
yeah.
What did you think here, Paul? Why did you not end up ranking the greatest wrestler in the world, Fred and I?
Well, her match with Tom, where Tom Nakano retired. That was the first Kawamatani match I've ever seen. So, and I think probably to this date the only match of hers I've seen. So it just didn't really factor into my list, which I thought it was a good match. I was very impressed with her presentation, but I didn't have the emotional investment going in. So I guess it didn't really quite hook me with that. But she's someone. I'm sure she is one of the 30 best wrestlers in the world under 30. I'm going to be paying much closer attention to her going forward. But yeah, I just didn't have the knowledge with her prior.
Next up, we have Toni Storm, who is 29. So this was her last year of eligibility. She finished 8th place on the list. Fred ranked her first, so this was Fred's first place wrestler, and that's obviously her highest vote. I ranked her 24th, a little bit of a gap there. And Paul did not rank her. So Fred, give me your Toni Storm. Why did you have the timeless one in first place on your list?
Okay, so here's my key points. One, the Mariah May match was awesome, and I think really proved that she had worked out the absolute worst of the timeless gimmick. And like, there's several podcasts of me complaining about the timeless gimmick early on. So I think that, between that, and I feel like her promos are generally very good at this point. There's going to be a couple that like she goes into the weirdness a little too much, but again, much better than it was early on. So, I mean, I think you could make an argument she's the best promo in AEW right now, I think. So given that she's maybe the best worker in the women's division, you might go with Mercedes, might go with Willow or Chris, but again, she's up there. But she's also easily, I think, the biggest star, at least among the under 30. Only Mercedes would rival her in crowd reactions, and I think Tony's much bigger. And honestly, consider that with the All in Texas show, we have a card that features Adam Page against Jon Moxley for the World Championship. We have the revival of the Okada Omega series. And people are legitimately talking about should Storm versus Monet be put above both of those matches as the main event. That's a big feather in the cap. And so I just think she's like one of the top stars in AEW and trending in the right way. So that's my take.
Paul, or I didn't talk about her. See, I had 24th. So this is like the highest I could justify putting someone I generally don't enjoy. I mean, I don't think her matches are generally that great. I don't really like her promos or her character. I mean, she's just not a wrestler I like that much. I ranked her this highly for a few reasons. First of all, the vast majority of people seem to disagree with me on her and seem to, she's very over with the crowd. She's clearly one of AEW's top stars. I mean, she's the only wrestler, in my opinion, under 30 in AEW who comes across like a top star. So that seemed notable, like when you're one of the top stars in the second biggest promotion in the world. So that was one reason I wanted to rank her. And second of all, she's in my AEW match of the year, which means since that's the only American promotion I really watch, that means it's my American match of the year so far with Mariah May at Revolution. So it's a match I'm 4.5 on. Outstanding match, just incredible grudge match, and just, for a wrestler I do not like usually, I felt like I wanted to recognize her for at least doing that much. Just I didn't want to rank her any higher because again, I don't really like her that much, and I don't really enjoy her work or anything, about her, the timeless character. But I felt like, objectively, I needed to put her on the list somewhere because she is very over. She did have a match that was outstanding to blow off a feud that a lot of people liked a lot more than I did. It's just this was the highest I was going to put her, given that I don't really enjoy most of her work that much. And I thought that the amnesia storyline was so stupid. So
that's
pretend amnesia, what the fuck it was.
Yeah, it was very short, so I'm not too hard on it, but it was very dumb.
Yeah, and I didn't like their All-In match last year. The Grand Slam match I just thought was okay. So it's really just like if she did not have that one match, that one outstanding match in the voting period, I think I would have been able to justify keeping her off my list, even though, the objective reasons I probably should list her. But once she had that match, it's like, okay, well, I should find a place for her. So that's what I did.
That also really helped shore things up for me strongly. Like, I think that's a pretty big reason why I put her number one. But yeah.
Okay, so the next three, all luchadors. So these are all people the two of you ranked that I did not rank just because I do not watch lucha. So we start with Xando Khan Jr., who is 25 years old. He finished in 10th. The highest vote he received was 2nd. Paul had him 8th, and Fred had him 15th. So, Paul, you can start with Sandokan Jr. Wrestler I have seen because he's been in New Japan quite a bit. But
Yeah, I know I ranked him highest. I was a little surprised at how high he ranked though, because I did have 2 or 3 luchadors ahead of him. But I mean, Zandokan's great. He's incredibly consistent. He's great at working his character. He's a great heel, and just an incredibly reliable guy who I think is going to be one of the top guys in CMLL going forward through the next several years. So that's why I felt like I had to include him on this list.
Fred, why did you have him in 15th?
Basically the same. Like I said before, I took 2024 off of CMLL, and I'm getting caught up this year. And he's one of the guys that really impressed me. If I were to do the FSM 50 right now, I'd put him in my FSM 50 pretty easily. I think he does really good work, and he also comes off as a star whenever he's on screen. He just seems very cool. So yeah, I mean, given all that, it was a pretty easy pick for me. Again, I'm still trying to get caught up, get my feet under me with the promotion. So maybe if in another 2 months, I would have had him much higher. But with what I've seen right now, like, I don't know, he's great, I guess, just to keep it short.
Atlantis Jr., 27 years old. He finished 11th on the list. Paul had him 3rd, and Fred had him 25th. Paul's vote of 3rd was the highest vote he received. And I should mention Zandokan was not ranked last year, by the way, and finished 10th, which is even more impressive. Atlantis was ranked 14th last year and this time finished 11th, so a little bit of a jump for Atlantis. Paul, again, you had him very high, you had him 3rd on your list, so go ahead. Why'd you have Atlantis this high?
Yeah, I love Atlantis. I think he's one of the most reliable main eventers, if not in Mexico, in the world at this point. He was in my favorite match from New Japan last year, his match with Hechicero against during Fantastic Mania Tour in Korakuen. I thought that was a perfect match for what it was, and I think he's just one of the most reliable main eventers in Mexico, and I think he's going to be a main eventer for 20, if not 30 years, just like his dad, just drawing 20,000 seat houses in Arena Mexico for multiple times a year for the next few decades going forward. So that's why I ranked him so highly.
Fred, you had him 25th on your list, so I guess go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for him to I don't feel like, from what I've seen, that he's he's a very solid worker, but he's not super spectacular. And he has, from what I've seen, some low notebook level stuff, like low 4 and 4.25 star. But I haven't personally seen a match that hit much higher than that for me yet. So I'm holding back a little bit on him, but I can see the presence. He seems like he's going to be a star in the future, and is already well on his way to being one. So I'm just a little I just want to see a little more from him before I feel comfortable putting him much higher.
Then we have Mascara Dorada, who is only 23 years old, so the youngest of these luchadors we're talking about here. He finished 12th. The highest vote he received overall was 2nd. His 12th place finish was actually very slightly down from last year, where he finished 11th. Paul put him 5th, and Fred put him 12th. So Fred, Fred had exactly where he finished. I think that's the first time that's happened, actually, on this so far. Paul, why'd you have him in 5th place on your list?
I just think he's probably the best high flyer in the world right now. I remember seeing him a couple years ago as Pancho Rita Jr. and thinking wow, this guy's awesome. They really need to push this guy. And lo and behold, just a few months later, he gets this Mascara Dorada gimmick and just runs away with it. And his elevation has been insane because it's so rapid, but it's so natural. The crowd just immediately has gotten behind this guy, and he just fits like a glove. Whenever he's coming out now, especially as part of the Sky team, he's been part of so many incredible trios with Neon and Mystico, and so I just felt like I had to put him on my list.
Fred, 12th place. What are your thoughts on this?
Great worker. Very I agree that he is, if not the best, one of the very best high flyers in the world. Good charisma, could work on it a little more, but he's pretty damn close to being there, where you want to see him. And so, given that, he's good enough of a worker to be put with Mystico to help him out, because, Mystico's best days are behind him. I mean, he's still a superstar, but as far as in-ring ability, he's, slowed down a little bit. And so, given all that, it felt like pretty obvious, like, he deserves to be in this list. And, that's where I came up with him for him.
Next, we have Kosei Fujita, who is 22 years old, so still disgustingly young. Kosei Fujita. He finished 13th, which is pretty much right in between where Paul and I put him. I put him 11th, and Paul put him 16th. Someone put him as high as 3rd on their list. And last year, he was not rated, so he was a debut on the list this year. So I had him 11th. I mean, he's closest a guy could be to being top 10 without being top 10, obviously. And the only reason why I don't have him top 10 on my list is because he's not a big star in his company yet. I mean, he's in the junior division, and his ceiling is a little limited probably by his height in New Japan and being in a junior. Now, I feel like sometimes people get too rigid on that, when it's like there have been short heavyweights before. I mean, he's probably not that much shorter than like Tetsuya Naito, who obviously broke through and became a heavyweight. Tomohiro Ishii became a heavyweight, and I'm pretty sure he's taller than Ishii. So it has happened. I mean, it's not impossible that he will eventually become a heavyweight. So I don't think his ceiling is like permanently capped necessarily. But even I think his floor though is like top junior star in New Japan for decades to come. So that's still a pretty good floor. And I think, he's been outstanding in the last year. I mean, just the junior tag stuff with Robbie Eagles, winning the tournament and then winning the titles, the outstanding junior heavyweight title match you have with El Desperado, and Korakuen Hall this year, which is like, one of the more underrated matches of the year so far, I think. He had one of the best of Super Junior runs. Again, one of these guys who without him, this tournament would have been a lot worse. And then had an outstanding match with Yo in the final. So, just outstanding in-ring worker. Definitely a huge future ahead of him, I think, whether he stays junior or goes heavyweight, but could not justify him using a top 10 spot on him when he has not, it's more of a potential pick still, even though his in-ring is currently outstanding. He's not yet a top star. Paul, why did you have him at 16th?
Yeah, so, I mean, Fuchs is one of the guys I go out of my way to watch. Like with Desperado, the match earlier that you mentioned, I thought that was incredible. One of my favorite matches of the year so far. And I just think he's going to be easily, the junior ace for years to come. And he's just like he's a prodigy. I mean, he leapfrogged over all of his other classmates. There's few guys as far as I've been watching, that have gotten brought up from young lion status onto the, into a unit and like a main roster guy as quickly as he has. And so I just think he's a very special performer. So I had to put him on the list.
Yeah, I mean, he had the quickest jump from young lion to full roster since Shinsuke Nakamura. So, like, you're talking like 20-something years. I mean, I can't think of anyone who was faster since that. So, Fred, you didn't rank him, so I'll put you on the spot. Why do you hate Kosei Fujita?
I just had him a couple spots outside the top 30. Now, I did vote before getting to the best of the Super Junior, so it's very possible that my opinion will change pretty rapidly here when I do get around to watching all that. But I like him a lot. I think he's a tremendous in-ring talent. I think he's got charisma. I think he is going to be the future of that junior division for sure. It's just, when you get down to like, when I got down in the last couple spots, it was a lot of people jostling around, and I just went with the list as I did. So,
next up, we have Neon, who is 26 years old. He finished in 14th. Another luchador. His highest vote he received was 6th place. Paul had him 11th, and Fred had him 21st. Paul, why did you rank Neon so highly?
Yeah, so, if Mascara Dorada is the top high flyer of the world, I think Neon is right behind him, and on some nights he might be ahead of Mascara Dorada. He's incredible to watch every night. he's he's pretty clean. I don't see him botch too often, and he's just super innovative. Like he does stuff that I've never seen before, and so he's one of the most thrilling guys to watch nowadays. And so I felt like I had to rank him where I did.
Fred, how about you?
Give me 1 second here to pull up my notes. Sorry, got distracted by a shiny object for a moment. All right, sorry. So Neon, yeah, he's a tremendous high flyer. I feel like his work is a little, if we're getting a little nitpicky, I think it's a little more spotty at points than say Dorada personally. But I think that's definitely the strongest part of his game. I feel like he needs a little more presence to really be like a top of the card guy. But like if his ceiling is like guy that helps put on great 6-man tags is like the third most over Technico or something, then that nothing wrong with that. So
next up we have Azumi, who is only 22 years old. So a bunch of these Joshi are disgustingly young and yet like 6 to 10 year veterans, which is just, just when you start them very young, I guess you end up with 22-year-old 10-year veterans and shit. I had her 9th on my list. Fred had her 20th. So, and her final position was 15th. Someone had her as high as 3rd place, and she was up very slightly from last year. Last year she was 19th. So yeah, she's a great wrestler. I mean, fantastic wrestler. Very over in her own promotion. A top star in her home promotion. She's like right at that next tier where she, constantly challenges for top titles. Never quite gets over the hump. She does end up losing, quite a few of them. She lost a couple more just this year already, where she lost to Mayu Iwatani for the IWGP Women's title at the Tokyo Dome in an outstanding 10-minute match, and then she lost to Starlight Kid at All-Star Grand Queendom for the Wonder of Stardom title, the white belt. Another fantastic match. The only criticism I guess I'd have a replacement on this list is she should not be higher than the next wrestler we're going to talk about, who finished a few spots below her from Stardom. And there were 2 other wrestlers in Stardom that I ranked above her that should have been on the list ahead of her. I mean, there's, she's not a top star, and she has a tendency to, she can be a little repetitive in her ring work, and she kind of, I don't want to say like she's, if you've seen her once, you've seen her a million times, but because that's too strong. And I really, really like her. I mean, I ranked her 9th on my list, but I do think there's an element of she stands out more to people who don't watch Stardom that often, because she's very, gifable. She looks really great in gifs. And, there is that element. I did see some people on Twitter criticizing the list for having her ranked above the other Stardom people, because, she does kind of feel like the casual fan Stardom wrestler. So, and I'm sure recently appearing in AEW probably didn't hurt her in these rankings either. But so I did want to mention that little critique. But again, I had her 9th, so it's not like I'm upset she made the list or anything. But yeah, she finished 15th on the final list. Fred, you had her 20th, so I guess go ahead and tell me about why you ranked Azumi.
Really good worker. I mean, just tremendous to watch whenever she's in the ring. She, her biggest weakness is I feel like she's going to end up as a mid-carder for most of her career. Some main event spots, but just not generally being put there. And so that's why I was lower on her. But that's basically my take.
The next wrestler is one of the ones who I just mentioned should have been above her, and you and I both did rank her above Azumi on our list, so we both know what's up, I guess. Starlight Kid, who is 23 years old, she did finish behind Azumi. She finished in 19th. I ranked her 4th on my list. Fred ranked her 13th. The 4th place vote she got from me was the highest vote she got, and last year she was not ranked at all, so obviously a big jump to get on the list at all. I think at this point she's the 2nd most popular wrestler in Stardom after Saya Kamitani, now that Tam Nakano's retired. I mean, she's very popular. She's very over. Really the only people who you could make arguments for are 2nd most popular, like probably Natsupoi and Shiori or maybe somebody like that, but definitely up there. She had one of my favorite matches the entire year last year, a 4 3/4 star match with Natsupoi at the December Dream Queendom event where she won the white belt for the first time. After that had been like a belt she'd never been able to capture in many, many years and many challenges. Um, her standing under the current regime seems to have improved a lot. Where it seemed like Rossi Ogawa never wanted to go with her, and he's never really liked the undersized wrestlers, so that's not that surprising. But she is very undersized, obviously. But her in ring has also just improved a ton too, which is why I felt like I had to get her in my top 5, because she has worked a lot with El Desperado from New Japan on like the technical wrestling aspect of her game. She's always been a great high flyer, but now her submission work, her technical wrestling is so much better than it ever was before. And she really got a chance to show that off, especially in the February match she had with Rena for the Wonder title that headlined that major show, or like that B-level major show, I should say. So that was another outstanding match she had this year. And, I feel like just adding that aspect to her game has really raised her a lot in my view. And I think that's, besides the fact that she's obviously a huge star now and, is currently under her biggest kayfabe run of success. She's leading a unit for the first time since she's the Neo Genesis leader. But, she was an easy pick for my top 5, I think. Fred, why did you have her 13th?
I love her. I mean, she's just really a tremendous worker, and it's pretty easy to see why. I mean, I think she has great matches. She comes across like a star. I feel like she was misused by Rossi for years. And so also she's disgustingly young. Just really ridiculous how talented she is at her age. So I think she's going to be a star for years to come. And yeah, just was that. I also think she's very charismatic too. So.
Yeah, all these Joshi wrestlers, I mean, it's like you can debate, I guess, whether or not, it must be weird too. Something I was thinking about. It's like you have these wrestlers who started between like 12 and 15, or I think even younger in the case of Hina and Rita. I think they started like 10, which you can debate whether that's a good thing or not. I think Lucha does the same thing sometimes, right? I think they have a lot
Oh,
of
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just a Joshi thing. And I think Paul, Dick Wayne, too, started as a teenager, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it does happen occasionally in America. Billy Starks is another one in America, but it happens a lot in Joshi. So it makes me wonder, is it weird to be like Miyu Amazaki and be 23 and like 3 years into your career, or be even older and just be like 1 or 2 years into your career, like a few of the Stardom wrestlers that are debuting now are, and like have like a 22-year-old who's like your senpai, like your senior, who's been wrestling like 12 years. Like that must be weird. I mean, Rena is like 8. Who I'm going to get to is I voted for. She's 18 and she's like a 6-year vet. Like that must be strange to have these people who have so much more experience than you when they're so much younger than you. But it's a very interesting Joshi thing. Ishin is next on the list. He is 27 years old. He finished 22nd. Paul, you had him 12th, and Fred had him 22nd. The highest vote he received was 5th. Paul, why did you put Ishin 12th on your list from Dragon Gate? I should mention.
He's just delightful. He's a delightful man to watch. I saw him live over WrestleMania weekend and saw him get over with every crowd. It's just how amazing. I mean, first of all, he's kick ass. A lot of people compare him to Dick Togo with the way he throws his body around, sort of similar shape like Michinoku era Dick Togo, but also he's just hilarious. Like the way he like a spot I always remember during the weekend, he was beating down KZ and sticking Dragon Gate Network stickers onto his body and shouting at the crowd, "Please subscribe! Please subscribe!" Or this GIF went semi viral yesterday on Twitter, where as Zebrads was beating down Natural Vibes, he was doing the dance that Natural Vibes does during the entrance and doing it really well. It's just he's very creative and he delivers in all of his matches. He had a great main event Dream Gate match with Yamato late last year in Korakuen. So yeah, just a very entertaining wrestler all around, and so that's why I had to get him on my list.
Fred, you have a 22nd, so go ahead.
Yeah. So
actually, that was the exact list. He finished again. He did it.
Yeah,
you're like Nostradamus here.
Yes, I am. My list is actually the superior and most correct list. Ishin is a great heel. He's a great heavy in Dragon Gate. Like a good bruiser worker. Got a lot of personality. I don't I'm curious if he's ever going to get pushed as a main eventer. But like, again, his floor is basically like tremendous mid carder that you can depend on all the time, and like that's a great floor to have. So absolutely no problem ranking him. And I'm unfortunately going to have to make this my last one. I gotta go, but yeah, I love Ishin, and I got to learn about him last year, and that was just a lot of fun. Sure, yeah. Everyone can catch me at again, The Good, the Bad, and the Hungee, the AEW podcast. That's HUNGEE. That I host with Tyler Fornes, where we talk about AEW and what's going on in the promotion, and sometimes the bigger world of wrestling. I also have a Patreon where you can read my writing at patreon.com/flagrant wrestling, and I just write about whatever, put some match reviews up, and I put up a free essay a couple days ago about like the release or non-renewal at the time of Ron Killing's R-Truth, and how it reflects the lack of loyalty in WWE. So check that out if you're interested.
Also, by leaving now, Fred escapes having to defend his MJF pick. So,
do you want me to do that real quick?
He knows what he's doing here. Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay, sure. I think he's
you had him fourth place.
I did have him fourth place. Yeah. He can cut a great promo. He's a great worker. And I think he's one of the most over people in American wrestling. Like probably top 5, maybe top 10, somewhere around there. That's about it. Like, yeah, trust me, I went through all the Bruchachu stuff, sucked ass. It was terrible. And then he was out injured. A lot of this is just off of what I've previously seen him. I mean, he's wrestled like literally one match this year, if I'm not mistaken. So like, we ain't exactly basing this off of recent work, but like, he's still where he is. He's still a top guy. He's been shifted over to a non-title feud, but like, that's what happens with main eventers when they're kind of out of the title picture. I just think that he's tremendously talented. Now, the big question is his creative instincts are, questionable at points. I think that's very fair to say. And I think that's going to be the big question with his career moving forward. I'm not like, I don't hate the Hurt Syndicate stuff right now. I think that some of the segments are pretty good. The overarching direction, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes and how it's handled and all that. But yeah, I know that there's people that are very annoyed with him, and I get why, but, I think he also has clear positives that can't be ignored. So that's it.
All right, so I'll bury him off when you're off the air.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, folks. So the magic of audio, we're right back here with just me and Paul to wrap up the rest of this episode. So Fred did have to run, so we'll go through the rest of our picks here that at least one of us voted for. And as promised, I will bury MJF a little bit. But we can skip, Fred's honorable mentions here since he's had to leave us here. So we left off with Ishin at 22nd. The next wrestler at least two of us voted for was Yuma Aoyagi, who is 29 years old, I should say. So he is his last year of eligibility. He finished 27th. Paul had him 22nd, and Fred had him 23rd. The highest vote he received was actually 9th place, and this was a big drop for him at 27th because he finished 8th place last year. So, Paul, I guess, why did you end up ranking Yuma Aoyagi in 22nd?
Yeah, I just, I was a big fan of his Triple Crown reign. I think he's a very dependable tag worker. I like all his tag title reigns typically. I know people have been pretty down on him maybe the last year or so. I haven't seen a ton of All Japan this year, but just based off of all the work that I really liked from him the last couple of years, I felt like I needed to put him somewhere on the list.
Yeah, so he's a guy who I thought about ranking, so that's an interesting one for me. I mean, he would definitely make like a top 50 under 30 for me for sure. So it's not like I hate the guy, but I thought he had such a middling champion carnival. Like that was all I needed to really not rank him on my list. I thought he had like one really good match at the champion carnival against Madoka Kikuta, and really nothing else. So maybe one other match I'm not even thinking of, but like off the top of my head, but yeah, just not a good champion carnival at all, I thought. And he's so goofy now. I mean, he's like so goofy in a way that I just do not enjoy. So I just don't. I did not really feel like I needed to rank him on my list this year. I definitely did rank him last year, but That's
Yeah.
why I ended up dropping him off my list. Next, we had Ryohei Oiwa, who is 26 years old. He was 28th place on the final list, which was up from not being ranked at all last year. So Fred and I were the two who voted for him here. Fred ranked him 19th, and I ranked him 26th. He finished as high as 7th on the list, on somebody's list, I should say. So that was the highest vote he got. So it was an interesting one where I had him way higher on my list last year. I think I had him like 5th or something. And I loved him in Noah. I thought he was like one of the highlights of Noah. But like he just really hasn't been that great in New Japan since his return from excursion in Noah in October. And I just could not justify putting him very highly as a result. Like he really has not done much of anything except repeatedly lose secondary title challenges. So some of that is the booking, but he just hasn't stood out to me in New Japan at all either. So this is more of this vote, even ranking him at all, is more on potential and the fact that I've seen him do it in Noah. I thought he was outstanding in Noah the year before. So, he fell very highly on my list. I didn't quite drop him all the way off my 30, but he's definitely a guy that if he does not do something different in the next year, he will not be on my list next year. I mean, he has been dropping for sure. Why did you end up not ranking him, Paul?
Well, I did see quite a bit of him in Noah, where I really liked him, and haven't seen as much of him in New Japan. But what I have is hasn't really impressed me. I wasn't crazy about him in being added to TMDK in the first place. I thought that was kind of a strange move, but just wasn't a guy who crossed my mind when I was making this list.
Mio Momino is next. She is 27 years old. So Paul, you voted for her in 4th place, which was the highest vote she got, and Fred voted for her in 29th. Her final position ended up being in the honorable mention, so she did not make the list. I just didn't vote for her because I don't really watch Marvelous, so it's a total black spot for me where I don't really see her very often. I am going to try to change that, especially now that they're on Wrestle Universe a little bit. But why did you rank Mio 4th place?
Yeah, I just think she's one of the best underdog wrestlers in the world. I love pretty much every main event match. Also, I think she's in one of the best tag teams in the world with Yuriko Oka. She had that great series of matches with Mayumi Ozaki in Oz Academy. So she's someone who just goes to a number of smaller Joshi promotions and just excels everywhere she goes. And yeah, I just love her. So I put her that high.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about her, so it's definitely somebody I should pay more attention to. When we get to honorable mentions, I think you voted for Senka, I've seen a little bit of lately in Marigold, and she's looked so impressive. So
no, I did not vote for Senka. She slipped my mind. I should have voted for her. That's like my one big regret from this list because she was like one of my favorite matches of this year with Aja Kong. But I forgot her when I was making the list. But I do love her. Yeah.
The last one that at least 2 of us voted for was Utami Hayashishita. She's 26 years old. She did not make the list this year. Very notable she didn't make the list because she was an honorable mention this year, and last year she was all the way up in 7th place. So a huge drop for her, obviously. Paul, you had her 14th, and then Fred also had her 28th. The highest vote she received was 13th. So I didn't vote for her. I mean, I love Utami. I had her on my list last year. I didn't see a ton of Marigold before I started watching them very recently, and what I did see, I thought she looked very I don't know. Like I saw her earlier in this year when she won the world title from Sari and then had a few defenses. She looked very off to me compared to what I was used to seeing out of her, and she did not look like a big star either, which was very strange. She did finally look outstanding against Mirai on the recent big show and Yoyogi, the Nai Takahashi retirement show that I talked about in my last episode. But I didn't see that match before I did my list. So if I had, I might have considered her a little more strongly. But yeah, I just didn't care. I assume the reason why she dropped off the list has a lot to do with the same reason I didn't really rank her, because a lot of people didn't really watch Marigold. And maybe some people who did see her, I did see a bit of her. I just wasn't that impressed with her Marigold up until her last match. But you had her in your top half of your list still. So what did you think of Utami?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan. Even when I didn't watch Stardom, I'd seen some of her matches, her title matches, and was always really impressed. And yeah, I saw her match with Sorry. Thought it was great, and I liked a lot of her work in the last, from the very first Marigold show through the end of 2024. I thought she uh, conveyed herself well. I loved her in that in their big tournament that she won last year. Definitely has fallen off a bit in the last few months, and I have not seen the Mariah title match yet. I need to watch that. But yeah, just someone I thought was deserving on this list, and that's where she landed.
So wrestlers, at least one of us voted for who ranked the top 30. I'll still read Fred's for this. I won't read his honorable mention people because that would take forever. Well, it's only one anyway for Fred. So Fred actually talked about it already. He ranked MJF fourth. MJF is 29, so this is the last year he's eligible, thank God. But MJF finished 16th on the final list. The highest vote he got, Fred's vote was even highest. Somebody voted this guy third, which I cannot believe. But even 16th was a big drop from him from 5th to 16th. And MJF, he's been debated endlessly on the Voice Wrestling Discord and stuff. So it's probably better that we're not going to beat the dead horse anyway. All I will say for him is, if anybody else had a match as bad as he had with Adam Cole in December and a feud as bad as the Adam Cole feud was, I don't think they would get as much of a pass as he's gotten. So I think most of the stuff he's done in the last year has been pretty terrible. That Jeff Jarrett feud was really bad too, and it was so bad they basically dropped it from television completely. I'm trying to think what else did this guy do? The Ospreay feud where he was cosplaying JBL was pretty bad. The Daniel Garcia feud was pretty good. That was probably the best thing he did besides the Hangman Page feud, but even that Page match I thought was overrated. And Fred said himself, the guy never wrestles. I think his best quality is his in-ring wrestling still, and he never fucking wrestles. Yeah. So, if you don't like listening to him talk, which I think he's one of the worst promos in all of wrestling, honestly, it's the same thing every single time. And it's so incredibly obnoxious that it's I don't watch AEW Weekly TV anymore, in large part because MJF is on all the time. I mean, he is a huge channel changer for me. The endless Hurt Syndicate angle where him trying to recruit him, or him trying to join, I should say, was so annoying and so bad. And I think he's horrible. I think he's one of the, from a character persona promo standpoint, I think he's one of the worst in the world. And his best quality is his wrestling, and he never wrestles. So that's pretty much where I am with him. And even his wrestling, because he's so bad creatively, because he has such horrible creative instincts, his wrestling can be bad too, as we saw with the Cole match. So, it's not like the wrestling is a overwhelming positive. So yeah, the only list of mine MJF would make is worst wrestlers in the world, because I just cannot stand the guy.
Yeah, so. I'm just not able to get over the hurdle of the fact that this guy almost killed the company. I hated his title reign. I hated the Jay White match, and I've never liked him. Even at the start of the promotion, when everybody was handing him flowers, he never connected with me. I always thought his promos were very cartoony, and especially when he's up against someone like CM Punk, I thought he got completely exposed when you compare his promos to someone who, say what you will about Punk, he at least in AEW came off kind of grounded and relatable, and I thought he just made MJF look terrible. And now it's some of the worst instincts in the business, this guy, and the in-ring just isn't enough to make up for it for me. So yeah, I didn't rate him.
Yeah, so there you go. Maybe Fred will hear that. I don't know if he will or not, but at least we, I get why people vote for him still. I mean, Fred, I think, made the case pretty well, but
sure.
It was funny that every single blurb was basically I know this guy sucks, but I gotta vote for him.
Yeah.
I mean, that was every blurb. Every blurb was oh, this guy really is bad, but I gotta rank him.
Yeah.
Mochizuki Jr., he's 22 years old. He finished 18th on the final list. You were the only one to vote for him, Paul. You had him 9th place. The highest vote he got was 8th. And last year he was 23rd, so he did jump a little bit. I actually just watched him. I watched him against UT for the Brave Gate last night, which I thought was really good, a 3 3/4 star match. Went 11 minutes, so very good match. And he's probably for my personal taste, a Dragon Gate guy I really enjoy. I mean, I love his dad. His dad's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and he's a guy I really considered. He just didn't quite make the top 30 for me, and again, that has a lot to do with. Well, okay, I'll be completely honest. I didn't feel inclined to rate a lot of Dragon Gate guys because I know that like other people are going to rate a lot of Dragon Gate guys who I don't vote for this list. So I would rather recognize, when we get to the bottom list, especially, I wanted to recognize like stardom people who I felt like were not going to get votes. So that was my thinking there. But he was right on the bubble. I mean, he's of the people, the Dragon Gate people you're going to talk about that you voted for that I didn't vote for. This is like the one I would probably be most likely to vote for. So
Yeah,
he's been great every time I've seen him.
Yeah, I mean, I had a similar reasoning for not voting for certain AEW people just because I knew they were going to get votes. But Mochizuki Jr., yeah, his dad, easily one of my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time, probably 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. And Jr., I mean, again, another prodigy. I mean, he's been, even when he started, is really good, and he's constantly gotten better. And up until maybe outside of the last few months, he's always been in the plans. He's always had some ongoing story to where he was doing something interesting in the promotion. Tons of great singles matches. He had a great tag team with Rita a lot of last year, and just so many cool moves that I constantly see getting shared around Twitter. Like his German suplex pin is amazing. His high knee is amazing. And he had one of the best matches last year with his dad, and then they came back, ran it back this January, and they may have had an even better match. So it just, a guy I can't wait to see continue on in the future, as I'm sure he's going to have the Dream Gate belt at some point. And he's just an amazing wrestler. So I had to put him on my list.
I want to apologize too, by the way. I feel like I've burped like 4 fucking times in this episode, which is probably disgusting. I've been like chugging soda to like stay awake since I slept so badly last night. So apologies to the listener out there that I've probably burped audibly like 4 or 5 fucking times on this episode. Jackie Camway, up next. He's 25 years old. He ranked 20th. That was his final position. Paul, you had him 6th place, which was not his highest vote. His highest vote was 5th. And he was up a little bit from last year. Last year he was 24th. So go ahead and talk about Jackie.
Yeah, again, on any given night, I think this guy can be the best wrestler in the world. He's an amazing underdog. He's so useful in every type of match between singles, tags, 6-mans, and the Dead or Alive match he was in. He was the highlight of that match. Not just he executes the moves so flawlessly, but also just the emotion he's able to convey on his face. He's so investing. He just gets you to care about him every time he's in there, and just how much he's developed and grown so quickly over the last few years. It's really astonishing to see, and I just think he's incredible, and he's at some point I'm sure he's going to get the Brave Gate and have an incredible run of that, and I can't wait to see his future.
Kevin Knight, 28 years old. You voted him 21st, which is also where he finished on the final list, 21st. The highest vote for him was 10th place, and last year he was not ranked. Why did you vote for Kevin Knight this time around?
Well, he's one of the highlights of the junior division for me in New Japan, and I've seen some of his AEW work. He's very impressive, and I loved him on those. He had some great matches on the All-Star Junior show. Just athletically, he's just astonishing. I love one of the funnest guys to watch move around the ring for me. And so just for that reason, I felt like he needed to be on my list.
I didn't vote for him mostly because I've never been super impressed by his ring work in New Japan. I felt like he's what guy always feels like he has it better athletically than he does it. Like he's one of those guys who has all the athletic tools, but then never seems to put it together to have like outstanding matches for me. I will say I didn't see his AEW run at all because he basically started getting booked the moment I stopped watching the promotion weekly, and I still watched the pay-per-views and I still tuned in for certain segments. Like I watched all Gabe Kidd segments there and stuff like that, but I haven't been watching entire shows. So I haven't seen any of his AEW matches, and I thought his Best Super Junior was very mid. I mean, very not much more like middling than I thought it was going to be. So, just especially based on the hype I heard about his AEW run. So, that him and Master Wato are like the two guys who I expected to vote for before Best of Super Juniors, and they both had such middling Best of Super Juniors that I just couldn't put them on my list.
Yeah.
Francesco Akira, on the other hand, is a New Japan Junior I did vote for. He is 25 years old. He finished 23rd on the final list. I voted for him in 20th. The highest vote he got was 6th place, and he did not make the list last year. I believe this is his first year on the list. So I think Akira is a very, very good junior heavyweight. He has a ceiling in New Japan. Again, he's short even for a junior, so he's never going to be a heavyweight in New Japan. So he's, his ceiling is like foreign junior guy, like Gaijin junior ace, which that's a ceiling in New Japan. I mean, that's never going to be a top star. But he's such a great worker. I mean, I love all of his junior tag stuff. I loved his match against Desperado of the junior title this year. He had the second best match in the entire Best of Super Junior tournament against Hiromu. A 4.5-star match at Korakuen, outstanding match. The best block match. So yeah, I think he's a great worker. I think he has a charisma. He just has a ceiling for where he's gonna, where his career is gonna go. So that's why I didn't rank him any higher than 20th. But outstanding wrestler. Any particular thoughts why you didn't rank him?
No, I like him a lot too. He's definitely like on the bubble. Like he'd probably be like 31st, 32nd, 33rd, something like that. I wasn't able to make space for him this year, but I do really like him.
Next, a rare Dragon Gate guy only I voted for. So Madoka Kikuta, who is 25 years old. I ranked him 21st, which was pretty close to the final position. He finished 24th. The highest vote he got was 9th place, and last year he was not ranked. So Kikuta, but I'm going through this list, okay? One thing going through my head is there are like no fucking young Japanese heavyweights, male heavyweights that I like. I mean, like that's what I kept coming back to. It's like for someone who watches so much Japanese wrestling, and again, that's what I prefer. That's what I watch all the time. I am obviously a Japanese wrestling fan. As anybody listening to this knows. I don't even know why I feel the need to say that, honestly. Just incredible to me how few Japanese heavyweight wrestlers I was ranking on my list at this point. I mean, I believe the only ones who would qualify there's only like we're at 21st basically, and there's like 4 people that I would consider heavyweights, male heavyweights that I had on my list. It's just there's New Japan just is so in such a dearth of like high quality Japanese heavyweights under 30 right now that it's just when you look at all the guys that have that you could have voted for. I mean, Umino was not going to make my list. Ren Narita was close to making it than Umino, honestly. I mean, he's had a quietly good little year, but I didn't end up ranking him either. And it's like, Oiwa I had lower than this, but like it was more on his potential from Noah. And so there was like a dearth of like young Japanese heavyweights I had on my list. And Kikuta really impressed me in the Champion Carnival when he came in there. And, obviously you don't think of Dragon Gate for heavyweights, but he is a heavyweight. And he comes to the Champion Carnival and has this outstanding carnival in a year where almost nobody else did. So he went in there and just had these very simple but very strong, strong style type matches where he's just chopping and lariating the shit out of people. And that style of wrestling I still really like. So, I wanted to recognize him for that. I've seen him have great matches in Dragon Gate too when I've watched him. So that's why I ended up ranking him here on my list. Interestingly, being a Dragon Gate viewer, you did not rank him.
Yeah, I'm definitely lower on him than some Dragon Gate viewers. I lost a lot of faith in him with his Dreamgate title reign. I loved his match with Shimizu, but out of that, I thought the whole reign was kind of a dud, and the drawing record would show that he was not successful as a drawing top carder guy at all. And beyond that, after that, I just kind of thought he was kind of lost in the mix for a long time. I have not, to be fair, I haven't seen his Champion Carnival at all. I want to make time for that eventually. And if this had happened maybe a couple months later, this list, he might have made my list, because since he's turned heel, I have liked him a lot more. He's shown a lot more personality, a lot more intensity in the ring since turning heel and joining Z-Brats, that I've really enjoyed a lot more than the last couple years as just the goofy ass man in D-Courage. So yeah, hopefully he might make my list next year. We'll see.
Hologram, he's 26 years old. He finished in 26th on the final list. Paul, you had him in 17th. The highest vote for Hologram was 4th. I wish Fred was still here because I would have loved to ask. I'm surprised Fred did not vote for him, being a big AEW viewer. But Why did you rank Hologram in your top 30?
Yeah, I guess I got a soft spot for Hologram because I saw him. I saw his debut. I saw his first few weeks in AEW because I was at those Collision tapings, being a North Texas resident myself, and those being held in Arlington. So I saw his match with Beast Mortos, and that almost made my top 10 last year. I think he's one of the best high flyers in the world, and always someone I try to make the time to watch. He was awesome in that Cybernetico on the Dean show a couple weeks ago. And yeah, just a great high flyer. So I felt the need to include him.
Okay, so that is all the wrestlers we voted for who made the top 30. Before I go into the honorable mentions, a couple little notes here. So these are some wrestlers. There's 3 wrestlers who are in the top 30 that none of us voted for. I believe 2 of them probably are not that interesting. It's probably just that you don't watch American Indies either, do you?
Very little.
So that's probably why neither of us voted for them. I don't know. Fred, I think, watches them a little bit. It would have been interesting to ask him. But yeah, Adam Priest, who was 29 years old, and Mad Dog Connolly, also 29 years old. They're both American Indie guys. I've just never seen them. So I've never seen them wrestle, so I can't say anything about them.
I've seen them both. I like them both. Priest, okay, so this is a bit of an error on that. I thought Priest was in his 30s. He looks like a guy in his 30s to me. I didn't verify his age. So he didn't make my list. And then Mad Dog, he's another guy probably like I'm not as high as him as some people. He'd probably be in like my low to mid 30s. But yeah, not quite in my list.
So Priest finished 25th. His highest vote was 7th. Connolly finished 30th. His highest vote was 11th. They both did not make the list last year. The one wrestler who is in a promotion that I definitely watch, and you at least watch a little, is Callum Newman. He is 22 years old. He finished 29th on the final list. Someone voted him 8th place, which is kind of crazy to me. So yeah, he was a guy I went back and forth with about putting him on. It's like the year covers June to June, basically. So that, excuse me, got another burp. That would cover the G1 climax, where I thought he was fucking horrible. I mean, I thought he was so bad that I clearly annoyed other Voices of Wrestling writers and like podcasters with how much I complained about him, because I feel like there's a couple people who take shots at me whenever Callum comes up. But yeah, I mean, like, I just thought he was so bad in that G1. I mean, just really, really bad in that G1. And that's in the voting year. So like anyone who was that bad, I wasn't going to put in. Now, since he came back from injury, so he got injured in 2024, he came back in 2025. He's been really good for the most part. I mean, he's been good. I am not someone who thinks you need to apologize for thinking somebody sucked and then thinking they got better. I mean, that's naturally going to happen with a lot of people. I mean, that's going to happen with wrestlers. So when he was bad, I thought he was bad. And now that he's good, I think he's good. I mean, that's just, that's a normal, changing of opinion.
Yeah.
I did think his match where he won the tag titles with Naito I thought that was the first performance I saw him in. I saw it was live for that match. I thought he was really good in that match at Sakura Genesis. And then obviously had the outstanding match with Goto at Dontaku, where they, where he challenged for the world title. So yeah, he's looked good. I mean, I'm not going to say he hasn't looked good. And I think if he continues, I mean, if he has a good G1 this year, he'll be on my list next year. I'm sure he will be. But
yeah, I have not seen the Goto match yet. I've heard good things, but my last real impression of him was the G1, which I saw a lot of his matches in that. And similarly, yeah, I was not impressed at all. So that's why he didn't really make my list this year.
Yeah, so just given how the way the year was, that's why I didn't rank him. Some wrestlers who were in the top 30 in 2024, they dropped off the list this year. One of us did vote for, I think. So let me pull her up here. Okay, Miyu Watanabe. She's 25 years old. Last year she finished 27th. This year she was only an honorable mention. Fred voted for her 7th. So I just wanted to mention that. But yeah, neither of us voted for her. I just really did not see any Tokyo Joshi over the last year. So that's pretty much really nothing against Miyu, except the only match I saw her in, honestly, was the match she had against Willow Nightingale at the Tokyo Joshi Big Show from this year, the Oda War Gym show that I watched. And I was not particularly impressed with that match, but according to even fans of Tokyo Joshi have said that was kind of an off night for her. So whatever. But yeah, just so I didn't rank her because I didn't really go. I didn't really.
Yeah. I've never been able to get into Tokyo Joshi. I have seen her. I saw her for the first time over Mania weekend. I saw a couple matches of hers live. She's very over, but
Yeah.
not didn't impress me to the degree of making my list.
Shota Ubino, 28 years old. Last year he was in 6th place. This year not on the list at all. And his highest vote was apparently 28th. I feel like this would be beating a dead horse at this point to say why we didn't vote for Umino. I mean,
Sure.
he's a good wrestler. I mean, I don't want to say he's a bad wrestler. I mean, he's had, even after the Zack match flopped, he's had some matches I really liked. He had the Tanahashi match in Sakura Genesis, especially. I thought he was great in that match. But every time he's in a big spot, he just does not deliver. I mean, he gets that Goto title shot in Chicago and just delivered another dud.
Mm-hmm.
And like he just, there's something about him. I mean, he had an outstanding match against Finley in the New Japan Cup final, so I guess that would be one example of him delivering. But Finley gets the level of that match out of a lot of people these days.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a flop as a top star so far, and he has a tendency to not deliver at a big spot. He didn't have a particularly great G1. He had like an okay G1. So yeah, I mean, there's no way I was even going to consider ranking him.
Yeah, anyone who has that kind of that poor of a match in the main event of the Tokyo Dome, yeah, I'm not going to consider.
Daniel Garcia, he's 26 years old. Last year he was in 10th, so another huge drop for him, not to make the list at all. The highest vote was 24th. I mean, I will be honest, again, he's a guy I barely watched because even when I was watching AEW, I was only watching Dynamite. I never watched Collision. So, and he seemed to be on Collision all the time as TNT champion. So he was kind of out of sight, out of mind for me. I will say his big feud was with Jack Perry, and that feud was sure horrible. So that did not help him. What I saw of him was pretty bad. So yeah, just not a guy I consider voting for.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of. I feel like he lost a lot of relevancy over the last year, and what he has been doing hasn't been terribly interesting. So yeah, I just didn't give him much consideration.
Jack Perry, 27 years old. Last year he finished 18th. This year he got not a single vote. No one voted for him. Apparently, he's not even in the honorable mentions. So, what is there to say about Jack Perry? Why he's been really bad since his heel turn, and why the fuck Tony Khan thought it was a good idea to waste one of Bryan Danielson's last matches before, at least his semi-retirement. As of now, it could be his permanent retirement for all we know. On fucking Jack Perry is one of his all-time worst decisions. So. Just not, the best thing he did was go to New Japan and be in House of Torture, and, which was kind of funny, but it's not like he was ever topping more than like 3.25 of his matches there. And I never even considered voting for him for a second.
Yeah, just one of the more perplexing Tony Khan guys. It's like, yeah, he's, for as much of a flop as he is, it's very frustrating that it seems like Tony Khan's just never going to give up on pushing this guy.
Well, maybe he has finally, because he's disappeared for so long now.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, yeah, we'll see.
Then we have Yuki Ueno. He's 29 years old. This was actually his last year of eligibility. Last year he was in 22nd. This year he did drop off. His highest vote was 6th place. Again, I just had not watched much DDT in the last year, so I can't really say anything about what he's been doing. But seems like nobody else really voted for him that much either. So,
yeah.
Mariah May is the last one. She's 26 years old. Last year she was in 30th. Her highest vote was 17th. I just saw her. So a lot of people, I think, dropped her off their list probably because she jumped to WWE, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure that is the main reason a lot of the bigger AEW fans voting dropped her off their list probably. I will say I just thought her entire women's title run was pretty much dog shit. So I thought almost everything I saw her in as women's champion was pretty fucking bad. So given that, I never really considered her for my list. I mean, she obviously had that outstanding match with Toni Storm, but Tony's a way bigger star than her, and I felt comfortable ranking Tony when Tony did not do anything nearly as bad as what I thought Mariah's title reign was. So it wasn't the WWE jump for me. It's just I did not like her output in the past year.
Sure. Yeah. I didn't see any of Mariah's title reign. And from what I heard, I was not missing much, so I didn't consider it.
And then there were 5 wrestlers who just aged out. So if anyone's going like, what about this person? Konosuke Takeshita, who finished 2nd last year, Fuminori Abe, who finished 17th, Miyu Yamashita, who finished 20th, Jamie Hayter, who finished 25th, and Bandito, who finished 26th. All 5 of those wrestlers turned 30. So those are your age out wrestlers. So we're 2.5 hours in the show. I'm going to say we'll quickly go through our people we picked, our honorable mentions. There's some I won't say a ton about, and there's some maybe you want to talk more about. But I won't bother doing the asking you why you didn't vote for this person, and we don't have to do that stuff.
Sure.
These
All
are
right.
people who didn't make the list to begin with. So alphabetical order here. Aoi, who is 22 years old, she's from Just Tap Out. I will say if you want to add something about somebody, though, feel free.
Okay.
So yeah, Aoi, I voted for her 23rd. I thought I was going to be the only person voting for her because, again, she's in Just Tap Out. But she got a second place vote, which I assume is Chris, because who else would vote a Just Tap Out wrestler second place? So yeah, she's one of these wrestlers who I only saw her for the first time, or not the first time ever, but the first time in a while, a couple months ago at the Takataichi Mania show, and where she wrestled El Desperado.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, she made such an impression on me. I immediately went out and like started trying to find as much footage of her as I could. I mean, she has incredible charisma. I think that's the big thing with her, is she has like that jump off the screen, like really unique charisma. And her actual wrestling is, again, very unique. Like, she's a very technical wrestler. She's very, very thin, but she's also very tall for a Joshi. She's like 5'7".
Mm-hmm.
She wrestles against men a lot and Just Tap Out. And she's like one of the most unique wrestlers, I think, worldwide right now. And I put her as high as I did mostly because like almost everything I've seen her in has been really good. And I think she has so much potential where if Stardom ever picked her up, and Stardom does have a relationship with Just Tap Out, I think she could be like one of the biggest stars in the company. I mean, I think she has that level of charisma. So, Aaron Sano, you voted for him in 22nd. I've totally mispronounced that, aren't I?
Aaron Sano. Yeah, it's okay.
There you go. 22nd, you voted for him. He actually got the vote from somebody. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
29th, wasn't it?
You voted for him
30th. Or 30th. Yeah, 30th.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's 22 years old, so that's why
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up. Somebody else voted for him 21st, though. But yeah, he wasn't honorable mention.
I think that was Chris, too.
Probably.
Yeah.
So anything you want to say about him?
Yeah, he's just a really good rookie. I've had my eye on him for a couple of years. I first saw him. He had sort of a rookie versus Vet Magic and Zeus a couple of years ago where he showed just like an insane amount of fire. And I was like, wow, this guy's really got something. And he's finally getting a bit of a push this year. He won a tag tournament and had some great matches in that. And then he had a title match with Toru, which I think may have been clipped on their TV show. I haven't seen it yet. But he's had some great matches this year. And then just someone I think is going to be a top guy for Osaka Pro at some point. So I wanted to give him some spotlight.
Aya Sakura, who's 28 years old, a very late start for a Joshi. She's only like about 2 years into her career. I had her 25th on my list, which was the highest vote, so it might have been the only vote. Just a ton of potential for her. One of many Stardom wrestlers under 30 with a ton of potential, who's really developed super, super fast. So, someone I wanted to get on my list even towards the bottom. And the two matches she had with Chi-Chi over the Sendai Girls Junior title earlier this year were so good. And it's great that she already has like a generational, like interpromotional rivalry like that. So yeah, definitely a wrestler I was a big fan of, who I think is going to do big things in Joshi in the years to come. Azusa Inaba, only 17 years old, already about 2 years into her career. She's another Just Tap Out wrestler, although she also wrestles for Stardom. I ranked her 29th. The highest vote she got was 9th, which I assume was Chris. But yeah, she's just already tons and tons of charisma as a heel. Her team of like heel delinquents with Rina is just so entertaining, and they scream like future Goddess of Stardom tag champions to me. They've already held the New Blood tag titles. So just a really tons of potential. I think she has even more potential than her sister Tomoka. So I ranked her one spot ahead of Tomoka. So just really, really good wrestler and her match she had with Tomoka in Just Tap Out, or technically the Takataichi Mania show was so great. So just again, tons of potential there. Dragon Dia, he's 26 years old. You voted for him 28th. He actually got a 5th place vote, so someone voted for him much higher, probably Mike or Case. So what do you think of Dragon Dia?
Yeah, I'm probably lower on him than a lot of people. For a long time, Dia's reputation, even among Dragon Gate fans, was he was like the 3 3/4 star general. Like he was very dependable at having like good matches, but rarely great matches. And then a switch flipped when he won King of Gate last year. He had a great King of Gate final, and then he had a phenomenal match against Yamato at Final Gate. And since then, he's just been a really dependable guy. Always puts in a great performance. I heard I haven't seen Best of the Super Juniors. I heard he was kind of a dud in that, but he's been good enough this last like 6 months that I felt the need to include him.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because like I know he became a meme on the Super J Cat server, which I know you're on too. Um, I thought his Best Super Junior last year was really good. Did you
Yeah,
watch that or no?
I saw a few matches. I
Yeah.
liked what I saw. Yeah,
Yeah, I thought he was really good last year, and last year is when he went 1-8, if you remember.
yeah,
And
yeah. Of
he got
course.
like so, because he was a late replacement for Taguchi, and
Yep.
like the Dragon Gate Western fans on Twitter were so fucking furious, and they like wanted to kill, wanted to like fucking tie Gato up and time the train tracks or whatever. But like that story worked so well for him in the tournament. I mean, that was a great little story for him where he was like the underdog, which played into his size anyway, because he's small even for a New Japan Junior.
Sure.
So that played into played into his strengths, and he worked really well in that role. And when he finally got the big win in the last, I believe on the last, either second to last or his last match, I can't remember which. That was a big deal. This year he just went 4-5, so like he
Yeah.
was just a guy in the tournament basically. And other than one match, he had a great match with Hiromu. He had a very good match with Robbie X too. The rest of his matches were so incredibly forgettable, and he just never felt. I'm not even putting it all on him. He just never, because the booking of the whole tournament was pretty lackluster to bad.
Hmm.
But like he never felt like an important part of the tournament. He never felt like a guy who stood out at all. So
Sure.
that was but yeah, it's not like I don't like the guy. I mean, I've seen some of his Dragon Gate stuff too. That's been good. But yeah, he definitely had a very lackluster Best of Super Juniors this year. Harutoki, he's 26 years old. You also voted for him 26. His highest vote was 19th. I've seen a little bit of him because he also wrestles in Noah sometimes, but he's
Yeah.
primarily an Osaka guy.
This is a guy I've been putting stock into. I've been telling people to keep an eye on this guy. I saw him in like a tag match last year against another guy who was against Zeus that looked fucking awesome. Maybe it's just that Zeus is so good that I mean, it could just be that he raises everyone up. But like this guy, I saw some real potential. He's got awesome fire and intensity. And I'll tell you who else thinks that this could be a guy, Go Shiozaki, because he gave him a 0-1 title match last year. So he's just a guy who I think has real potential, a great look. His in ring is solid. It's not quite great yet, but I think he's going to get there at some point. And so, yeah, he's someone I think everyone should be keeping an eye on.
He's going to jump to Noah eventually, probably.
Oh, his contract. I think his contract is up with Dotonbori or whatever Osaka promotions he's with. I think it's up in August, and yeah, I would imagine he'll be full time Noah shortly.
Homare, another Dragon Gate guy. He's only 20 years old. You voted for him in 27th, and the highest vote he got was 20th.
Yeah, just another guy who's just immediately great. And if you've ever heard Jay talk about him, like everyone knew that this guy had something. Like even before he was while he was just like a trainee, like within days of him coming in, everyone was like, this guy has something special. And you can see that because on his first night in the company, they turned him heel and put him into a unit, which you can count on one hand the amount of guys who have immediately joined a unit upon debuting. And then since then, he's been progressively becoming greater. He had this amazing performance on the Rated Parejas finals as Dragon Gate's tag tournament back in March, I think, where he wrestled in 3 matches. It was like a quarterfinal, a semifinal, and then the final, and they were all awesome matches, and he got the pin in the final match to win the tournament. And since then, he had a great Brave Gate match with UT at Dead or Alive. Just tons of potential. The guy's only gotten better every time I see him, and I can't wait to see what he does in the future.
So I haven't been mentioning Fred's honorable mentions, but I wanted to mention this one because it's interesting since you're such a big Dragon Gate guy. Fred voted for Hyo in 24th, and you didn't vote for him. Any particular reason?
I like Yo. I think his gimmick gets in the way of the in ring sometimes. He kind of has this Shawn Michaels Magnum Tokyo kind of stripper-esque gimmick, which got him very over in America. That was fun to see, but yeah, not.
His highest vote was 11th, by the way. So I get probably either Fred or either Case or Mike really liked him.
I'm sure, but his in ring isn't always there for me. But he's got a lot of charisma and personality, so I can see why some people really like him.
Keigo Nakamura, 25 years old, from DDT. You ranked him 29th, which was also his highest vote. So why did you vote for Keigo?
He's probably my favorite DDT. I don't know if you can call him a rookie anymore. I mean, he's probably like 5 years in, but he's been kind of cursed with like one or two really bad injuries. But just I think he's probably got the best crowd connection of the DDT young guys. Just he's really able to get people really behind him. I watched a lot of that Next Gen Cup or whatever they call it earlier this year, and I thought he was easily the highlight. Had a lot of the best matches in that tournament, so I wanted to get him on my list.
Micah, she is 27, and I ranked her sixth place on my list. So this would be one of the 2 to 3 like major omissions I thought by the team, not or by the voting panel for Stardom. I mean, she was a World of Stardom champion the last year. She was such a heavily focused on player during the in the immediate wake of the Murray Gold split. She was such a huge part of the angles that resulted in the formation of the hate unit. I mean, she was such a huge part of Stardom in the last year. And then even when her push died down a little bit early this year, she was doing all this really cool interpromotional stuff with Sendai Girls, where she was, having the tag match against, challenging for the Sendai Girls, or challenging for the Sendai Girls world title, I should say, at All Star Grand Queendom. Which was an outstanding match against Chihiro Hashimoto. So yeah, she was like, still all over the place even after getting de-pushed a little bit. And she feels like such a top star in this company that it kind of boggles my mind that she, didn't get ranked in the top 30. I mean, I like I said, I was the highest vote for her in sixth place, and she's also just an outstanding wrestler. I mean, just a great Lady Haas type wrestler who, almost always delivers in big moments. So she I thought was one of the big misses by the panel, not having her ranked in the 30. I will say she's going to be tough to rank maybe next year, depending on how long she's injured, because pretty much right before the voting period ended, she's had a lingering elbow injury that she went off to get surgery for. It sounds like she's going to be out a long time, maybe the entire rest of 2025. So we'll have to wait and see exactly how long she's out. But May Sierra, she is 23 years old. I ranked her 27th. So she is another Stardom wrestler I had, but not one of the ones that I'm like, again, amazed didn't make it or anything. She's very, very good in ring. I don't think she quite has the charisma to be a top star. She's not super charismatic to me, especially in a company that has a lot of super charismatic wrestlers. But, she is a very good in-ring wrestler. So, definitely a wrestler that I enjoy watching a lot, and a wrestler that, I wanted to rank somewhere on my list, but definitely towards the bottom because, I just don't think she's ever going to be like she's going to be a career mid-carder, I think, is what I'm assuming for her. So, Mika Iwata, she's 28 years old. I ranked her 12th on my list. The highest vote she got was 9th. So somebody else really liked her too. I think that was actually probably Kelly, judging by the blurb he wrote. But yeah, I think she's super underrated, mostly because of the position she's in, where she's, until Meiko Satomura retired, she was like the fourth biggest star in the company. And now she's the third biggest star in the company behind Chihiro and Dash. And, Sendai Girls is not a big company. So, that position, she does do a lot of jobs, especially to outsiders, to the point where it's become a running joke. So, but she is such a great worker. I mean, I think her kicks are amazing. That way she comes into matches with like such intensity is like really missing from a lot of modern wrestling, I think. And that really, really draws me in right away. And she did some really cool stuff in the last year, especially her feud with Shiori Ano towards the end of 2024 was really, really, really cool stuff. So
yeah, I like Mika a lot too. She kind of just missed my cut. I wish there would be I wish they could find some people who are willing to lose to her. She had a Sendai Girls reign, and I swear she went like 4 months without defending it. Like,
it is weird, right?
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just because they couldn't find anyone to put her over or what the deal was, but yeah, I wish she would job less.
Also, maybe the prettiest rice field worker in the world.
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
But it's just funny because like you see these pictures of her sometimes like working in the rice fields, and I'm like, wow, she looks like she could be an idol, and she's working in the rice fields with the rest of the Sendai Girls roster.
Yeah.
Miyu Amazaki, 23 years old. I had her 28th on my list, which was also the highest vote. This is again a potential vote more than a current vote because she's only been at this for about 3 years. She's still she can still look a little awkward in ring. Like she has this wrestling style where like her big thing is like trying to hit a DDT from like every possible position. But like, you know, the like, so that could look a little awkward sometimes, but when she puts it together, she looks really good in there, and you can see the potential is there for her to be a really good worker long term. What she has is she has a very understated charisma, to the point where I see where people think, there's been whispers that she could be like a future ace, and I totally get it when I see her, because she has that like this understated charisma that does draw you in and make you think like you want to like pay attention to her. She has a great look, and she definitely has she has a lot of potential there, I think, as a future top star in Stardom, or at least maybe like a 1B type. And she also has like the perfect height for that too, where she's like 5'4", which the Joshi promotions love that height, because it's like you're still taller than a lot of the roster, but you're not so tall that like you look like a giant. Like, like even Saya Kamitani at 5'6" always looks like a giant in there to a lot of the roster.
Right.
Momo Watanabe, she's 25 years old. I had her 10th on my list. That was the highest vote. This was another miss to me for the panel that should have been on the list. Not quite as much as Micah or the next wrestler I'm going to talk about. But she's just, everything she's done has been really good. She had a great Goddess of Stardom title reign with Thekla that ended with a really great match against Wingori in December. She did get slowed down by injuries this year, so from that perspective, maybe I could see leaving her off some lists. But even then, she had 2 great matches with Mercedes Moné. One of them at the New Japan Strong Show last fall, which I thought was really good, and then a very good match with Mercedes at Revolution, where they had to fight a crowd that really wasn't interested early on and won them over. So I was a little surprised, being in that high-profile AEW spot, didn't get her more votes with this panel in particular. But maybe people didn't like those matches as much as I did. But yeah, a little surprised she didn't make it. She was right in my top 10 for me, but there you go. Natsupoi, 29 years old. I had her 8th place, which was the highest vote. This is the other big Stardom stub where I was really, really disappointed that in her last year of eligibility, she couldn't make it. I mean, she's one of my favorite wrestlers. She's been one of my favorite wrestlers all the way back to when she was Natsumi Maki in Tokyo Joshi. And, I voted in this before I saw her go to go do her independent show and finish, draw 2,800 people with Yuri Ano for that show, their 10th anniversary show they did. And if I had seen that, plus the fact that she had 2 awesome matches on that show, if I had seen that before I put in my ballot, I probably would have put her like 5th place, I think, because she was already very high on my ballot, obviously, but like that would have put her over the top even more. And she's also one of these wrestlers who, no matter where she is on the card, you can always count on her to give you something outstanding. I mean, again, her match with Starlight Kid in December was one of my matches of the year last year. But then even just like undercard tags, like she's been in a lot of the year this year, she's always like the standout in an undercard tag. So
yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I really like her too. I haven't seen her in a bit, but she had one of my top 10 matches of the year last year, which was the tag match she had with Ano against Sari and Chihiro, and I loved her singles match Chihiro also. But it's been a while since I've watched her.
Rita, 27 years old. You voted for him 18th. He's from Dragon Gate again. His highest vote was 6th place. So what about Rita?
Yeah, he's a gem. He takes everything and just makes it a little better. Just, he took like Gold Class, the unit he's in, was floundering for a long time, and he was the highlight. And there was like a good year there where he was like single-handedly like carrying that whole unit, and just the chemistry he has with guys like Kame and Junior and Ben. He's just tremendously entertaining. He's so athletic, and he's a great underdog. He had an awesome match with Gianni Valletta of all people late last year. He's just able to get in there, and he's just super creative, and he knows how to build just an awesome match with anyone who's in there. So I love him, and I wanted to put him on my list.
It's funny he ended up going right after Natsupoi because he's listed at 5'1", which to be listed at 5'1" as a male wrestler, I don't even know how short you must actually be. So yeah. I want to put, and Natsupoi is 4'11", which I think is a shoot 4'11". So we should put them back to back and see who's actually Rena, she's only 18 years old, but already like a fucking 8-year veteran or something. I had her 15th, so right the bottom of my top half of my list, which obviously I was the highest voted for it, unsurprisingly. I talked a little bit about her before, but I just think she's outstanding for her experience level and especially for her age. I mean, a lot of those years where she started, she really wasn't doing much besides like wrestling her twin sister Hina in, these exhibition matches, and so she has a little less experience than you even think. Um, but she's so good. I mean, that match she had with Starlight Kid I mentioned earlier in February, which was her challenging for the Wonder in her hometown, was so outstanding. And she's just, again, such a charismatic heel that she feels like she could be a future top star in this company. And she's, again, obviously still so ridiculously young. But yeah, so just someone I definitely wanted to put on my list. And, I stuck her in the top half because I just think she's got so much potential. I did not rank either of her sisters, Hina or Hanan, just because I don't have either of them with the, Hina, I don't really see it with her compared to her sister. I mean, Hina seems like she, maybe I'm getting worked by her gimmick, but she always talks about how she's like in high school and going to college. And, her twin sister never talks about that shit, which I don't know if that's just because she's a heel and maybe she really is like just as studious in real life, but like it almost feels like Rena cares like more about this stuff than Hina does. And I feel like it shows up in their respective work. I mean, I think Hina's fine, but she never shows the level of like intensity or passion as Rena does, and she never has that kind of potential for me. I think her current future reign is going okay, but like, I don't think of her on the same level as Rena. And Hanan is like one of my like biggest cuts where like I could have put her on my list. I think she's having an outstanding tag title reign with Saya Ida, but I just didn't quite make room for her. And I don't like her single stuff still. Like I thought her Cinderella matches were all pretty underwhelming. So that's mostly why I didn't include her. But yeah, Rena, I just think is so far ahead of both of them. Ryuki Honda, he's 25 years old. I voted for him in 19th, which was the highest vote. I was a little surprised he didn't get more votes. I mean, he's, again, in a Japanese scene that has very few legitimate male heavyweight prospects. I think was one of the only other standouts at the Champion Carnival this year. Had 2 really great matches with Yuma Aoyagi and Yuma Anzai. And, every time I see him, he's just a very entertaining wrestler, even when he's doing like, he does the comedy stuff that a lot of people in All Japan do very cringy. He can be very entertaining with it. And, I just think he's a really good worker for his level of the company, especially. And he's still so young that it feels like he has a lot of room to grow even more. I just hope he gets a bigger push in All Japan going forward. Like, hopefully that going to the Champion Carnival semifinal hopefully wasn't like his high water mark. Hopefully that's just like he's going to keep going from there because, I don't know why they don't push him more considering, how good he is.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of his work this year, which I probably should check that out. But one thing I always think about him, don't you think he looks like a lot like Magnum Tokyo? That's like always what I think about when I see him.
Yeah, a little bit. I can see it, like a fatter Magnum Tokyo.
Yeah.
He's already kind of a heavy guy.
Yeah.
Ryuya, why don't you just read this name? Ryuya Matsufusa?
Yeah, Ryuya Matsufusa. Yeah.
He's 26 years old, and you voted for him 15th. The highest vote for him was 3rd.
Yeah, he's the junior ace of Osaka Pro. Put on one of my favorite matches last year against Billy Kinkid, where he gave just this incredible leg selling performance, and since then has just had notebook match after notebook match, defending that light heavyweight title, which he dropped at the start of this year against Osura, Yasutaka Osura, and since then he had some great matches in the junior title recently, and I think it's only a matter of time before this guy gets picked up by a Noah or some other promotion because he's just one of the best juniors going in Japan today.
Sayaka Kurara, she is 24 years old. I voted for her 16th, and that was the highest vote she got. Just incredible levels of potential for her. I think she's only been wrestling for 18 months, and she's already this good. I mean, she has incredible babyface fire. When she times that spear that she does, the Tokimeki spear, she almost always hits it in like such an impactful way. I mean, she might have the best spear in the business right now. I mean, she is that good at that spear. I mean, I think it's better than Yota Tsuji's, and she's just so fucking good with that spear.
But is it better than Braun Breakers?
I don't know. I never watched Braun Breakers, so I have no idea. But yeah, she's just so good already. She's got that, like, again, that top Joshi Star charisma. Future top Joshi Star charisma. Of all the people I have on the bottom half of my list, and I obviously ranked her at the top of the bottom half, I'm most confident that she will be a future top star. I mean, she just has everything you would want. She has the look, she has the charisma, she already has the ring work. I think she is going to be, a huge star for Stardom for years to come. So easy pick here for me to put her on the list. And again, that match she had with Saya and for the red belt, that was outstanding. Was just recently really put her over the top for me. Suzaku, he is 20. It's a he, right?
Yes.
Like, that name could go either way. He is 28 years old, and you have him ranked 24th on your list, which was also his highest vote.
You may know him as Oji Shiba. I don't know if you were watching Dragon Gate when he debuted.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he joined Osaka Pro, and they put him under a mask. He's now Suzaku, and he's just
Dragon Gate, that's a kind of weird jump. Dragon Gate to Osaka Pro.
Well, he had been on the Indies for a few years between Dragon Gate and Osaka Pro, right? He was mainly working like Tenru Project, like shit like that for a while.
Yeah, like I never watched that, by the way. I'm like, how do you even watch that?
Now and then, it's on the sites, the Russian sites, things like that. You can find it. Yeah. But he joined Osaka Pro late last year, went under the mask, and he's just been incredible. Like I've never seen him this good before. He had a great match with Matsufusa at the end of the year, and he just got a big push. Like last month, he won their light heavyweight tournament where he had like 3 or 4 great matches, incredible final, and he's probably about to win their title. And he's just improved exponentially. And so I felt like I had to put him on the list because he's been one of the highlights of Osaka Pro the last 6 months.
Yeah, when you mentioned Tenru Project, it's just so interesting because I remember like scrolling through like some of their recent cards and stuff, and like they have a lot of guys that I know now because like a lot of guys I guess came over there like from All Japan and stuff.
Yeah, like, they have the occasional good match. It's very sleazy, but some good guys.
Like Yusuke Kodama is there full time. I really liked.
Oh yeah,
one in All Japan.
Sure.
Trying to think who else. Like
Kenichiro Arai works there a bit.
Kenichiro Arai. Kumadoi.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was somebody else. I was like, he's there now, huh? Or Hikaru Sato works there quite a bit, I think, right?
Yeah, Kohei Sato. Yeah.
No, I'm thinking of Hikaru Sato.
Oh, Hikaru's. I think they both were. Yeah, both work there.
Yeah. But there's like all these other Japanese guys I feel like have dropped off the face of the earth, and I feel like they're just in places like Tenru Project that I never watched. So
for sure, yeah.
Tomoko Inaba, she's 22 years old. I ranked her 30th. Her highest vote was 5th, which again had to be Chris probably. But yeah, just again outstanding wrestler for her age and experience level. She's been at it a little longer than her sister. She's been at this 6 years already, so she already has like a presence to her, and I think she is going to be a big star at some point. I don't quite think her in ring is as far along as some of the other young Stardom people I ranked above her, so that's why, especially considering she's been at this for 6 years already, so that's kind of why I put some of them above her. But I do think she has that top star potential still. She has like a understated charisma to her again, and her kicks are really good. So, and she had a great match with her sister, like I mentioned, at the Takataichi Mania show. All right, 2 people left. How the hell do I say this name? This is actually a luchador. Zelhu?
Showa.
There you go. That's a Chinese name, right?
I think it's Spanish.
Oh, yeah, really? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems I didn't know Spanish had names like that. He's 21 years old. I thought maybe he was working like a Dragon Lee type gimmick or something. But yeah, he's 21 years old. You voted him 19th, and his highest vote was actually in 3rd.
Real quick mythology lesson. Showa is one of the 7 giants in Aztec mythology, which I figured it was an Aztec gimmick because his mask is an Aztec kind of face. But yeah, so he's kind of a throwback, very kind of a Santo-esque, like very traditional, like masked luchador type. But he's like a maestro type too. Like he has a lot of llave that he throws in, and he's just one of the highlights of every show that he's on. And he's getting a big push. He's had great matches with like Hechicero and some of the other maestro types. But yeah, just awesome awesome submissions and just in ring, just very fun guy to watch, and a lot of people are really high on him. So yeah, he's great.
All right, the last one, Yurika Oka. She is 21 years old. You ranked her 23rd. That was also her highest vote. I've seen her in Sunday Girl. She did make an impression on me, so I'm not surprised you ranked her. I mean, she's someone I thought about, honestly.
Yeah, I really like her, and I just the main reason I felt like I needed to include her is because she's one half of one of what I think is one of the 5 best tag teams in the world, is her and Mio Momono. And so for that reason alone, I was like, I got to put her in there because they just had so many outstanding tag team matches, and they're both great in all those matches. So it's like, yeah, I think they're both worthy of the list.
All righty. We got through everybody that we both voted for. At least we did not do Paul's honorable mentions because it would be us sitting here being like, yeah, I didn't vote for Braun Breaker. Okay. But I did bring up a couple of them, like I said, that felt relevant. But
you're talking about Fred.
Yeah, Fred. I'm sorry. I think I said your name.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry. But yeah, thank you a lot for coming on, Paul. I hope you enjoyed it. And,
yeah, I did. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. I have a Substack where I write about wrestling occasionally. It's Paul Wedding Fujiwara Gumi. It's just pwfg.substack.com. And then I also, for my shoot job, I cover a lot of wrestling. WFAA. If you just go on YouTube and type in like WFAA Pro Wrestling, you can find a lot of my interviews. I've done interviews with Chris Jericho, Darby Allin, Dustin Rhodes. I have one coming out early next week with Ricochet. We had a good discussion. So and I'll have another interview with Anthony Bowens at the end of next week. So yeah, check it out.
All righty. So definitely check that out, which will be in the episode description as well.
Thank you.
Folks. Again, thank you all for listening. Next week we'll be back. I'll have Velky Braca back on, who was on a few weeks ago with me, and the two of us will be discussing the New Japan Dominion show. We'll be reviewing that in full, and we'll also be previewing the Stardom Conversion show. So that'll be the 2 big topics next week. We'll see if we get to anything else. There might be time to squeeze in Mari Gold or something, so I'll talk to you about that. But those are the 2 shows we'll definitely be covering. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at WrestleOmakase. Wrestling, of course, would not fit. You can follow me on Bluesky at Just1MB. And thank you as always for listening, and we will see you next time.
Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself how many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for 2 Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling podcast network.
Stop letting mosquitoes control your outdoor plans. The breakthrough bug repeller from killthebugs.com creates an invisible 15-foot protection zone around you and your friends. Whether it's a family barbecue or a camping trip with friends, this bug repeller from killthebugs.com is a must, unless you love getting eaten alive by the buzzy flying creatures. Visit killthebugs.com and save 50% on your purchase of the #1 mosquito and bug repeller in the United States today. Visit killthebugs.com.